Chapter 1539. Ning Shu said without raising her head, "It's just me." The lawyer sighed and sat on the stone. "It wasn't easy for me to escape from the hands of a climber." Ning Shu blinked and asked, "Someone wanted to kill you?" The lawyer nodded. "He wanted to eliminate his competitors, so he wanted to kill me." Ning Shu lowered her eyes. The climber might have received an order to kill the lawyer. This was treating her like a puppet and playing with her in the palm of his hand. Previously, Ning Shu didn't listen to the order to kill the housewife, Wu Wan. After that, he didn't give her any orders. Ning Shu glanced at the lawyer who was not far away from her. The lawyer might have come to her with a mission. Ning Shu suddenly became a little interested. She guessed what the lawyer's order was. A man and a woman. Other than sex, Ning Shu couldn't think of any other way to abuse her. The lawyer might have received an order to rape and kill her. Ning Shu's mind was full of thoughts. She asked expressionlessly, "Have you met anyone else?" The lawyer shook his head. "Other than the climber, there's also you. The island is so big. It's not easy to meet someone else." The island was so big. It wasn't easy to meet someone else. She might have been led here. It was like encountering an NPC in a game and issuing a mission. They were living people, so they had to follow the instructions of the mission. The more Ning Shu thought about it, the more she felt that this program was full of evil intentions. Ning Shu asked, "You're a lawyer. You should be able to see that there's something fishy about this, right?" The contract signed at the beginning was simply an unfair contract. As a lawyer, how could this man not see it? The lawyer spread out his hands. "I'm also helpless." The organizer didn't want to take responsibility, so they made such a contract in advance. Ning Shu remembered that there was a law that if it was an unfair contract, it would be biased and the contract would be like waste paper. However, this law was also a piece of nonsense. Unfair treaties could be found everywhere. Since you already know that it's a tyrannical treaty, why do you still want to participate? The client was a university student. In the end, he couldn't compare to people who were struggling in society. The lawyer said helplessly, "So what if I know? As a lawyer, I've seen too much darkness. This is just a tyrannical treaty. If I can get 10 million, I can open a law firm." Ning Shu observed the lawyer. His right hand was fumbling with the buttons on his shirt. He had been fumbling with the buttons since he sat down. This should be his little habit. No matter what the other party's goal was, Ning Shu would just wait and see. Ning Shu didn't think that this lawyer was her opponent. Ning Shu leaned against the tree trunk and stared at the centipede that was as long and thick as a chopstick. So many legs. The atmosphere was quiet as the lawyer approached Ning Shu with his jacket. Ning Shu looked at her, and the lawyer handed the jacket to Ning Shu. "Sit on my jacket. There are many poisonous insects in the jungle." The lawyer also sat down close to Ning Shu. There was a pungent smell on his body, mixed with the smell of blood. The smell of blood was faintly discernible. Ning Shu used her mental power to scan the lawyer's clothes and found that there were bloodstains on his pants. Because the pants were black, the bloodstains weren't obvious. If it weren't for Ning Shu's sharp nose, she wouldn't have been able to smell it. The one who died was a climber, not a lawyer. Anyway, it was a lawyer who survived. The lawyer took out a few fruits from his trouser bag, which looked a bit like dates. "These are edible. I've always relied on these things to satisfy my hunger. Have one." Ning Shu refused directly. "I only eat termites." "Lawyer." The lawyer nibbled on the fruit. Ning Shu propped up her chin and used her mental power to observe the person next to her. Lawyers should be considered a relatively glamorous profession, but they still couldn't resist the temptation of money. Maybe, like a housewife, he would take out a dagger and kill her. Ning Shu and the lawyer sat together in silence. The lawyer felt that the atmosphere was too awkward, so he told Ning Shu about the case he took over. To be honest, Ning Shu had no interest in this. She was also someone who had been a lawyer. The lawyer suddenly changed the topic and Ning Shu asked, "Do you want to go back alive?" Although it was dark now, under the probing of Ning Shu's mental power, nothing could be hidden. Ning Shu saw that in the darkness, the lawyer's lips curled up, like a wolf looking at a rabbit. Ning Shu remained calm and asked back, "Of course I want to leave. Don't you want to leave alive?" The lawyer quietly moved closer to Ning Shu. Ning Shu could even feel the air coming out of his mouth. Fuck, you haven't brushed your teeth for 10 days. If we can survive, we can only do as the walkie-talkie said. The lawyer's voice was so low that only Ning Shu could hear it. Ning Shu asked with an indifferent face, "Then what do you want to do?" "What's your mission?" "My mission is to rape you," the lawyer said in a low voice. "I don't want to hurt you, but if I don't do it, our lives will be ruined. Everyone here had weaknesses and pain points. I deliberately chose to confess to you in the dark. I want to cause as little harm to you as possible. You can just treat it as a love affair. When the time comes, you can struggle a little more." Ning Shu was speechless. Did he think that if he chose to do it at night, these cameras wouldn't be able to film? That was too simple. To rape someone, he had to find so many reasons. The brutality of murder, the ugliness of lust. This was really like the Garden of Eden. The ugliest side of human nature was released. He was obviously a lawyer, but first he killed someone, and then he raped a woman, completely trampling on the law in his mind. What kind of weakness did they have on this lawyer? The lawyer reached out and groped Ning Shu's body, and even let out a disgusting laugh. He did it on purpose. This is your mission. Why should I be wronged? Ning Shu stood up, grabbed a branch on the ground, and hit the lawyer. The lawyer wailed in pain and suppressed his voice. "What are you doing? Did we talk? Put on a show." Ning Shu curled his lips. "Okay, then you can be more tragic." Ning Shu used the branch that she was using to walk and hit him repeatedly on his body. The lawyer jumped in pain and angrily grabbed the branch. His face was trembling and his eyes were fierce. He looked like he really wanted to rape Ning Shu. Ning Shu kicked the lawyer's little brother. The lawyer wailed in pain and covered his injured little brother. Ning Shu used his crutches and turned to limp away. With his mental strength, Ning Shu knew if there was anything dangerous around. Therefore, Ning Shu didn't encounter anything dangerous in the dark. After walking for about 2 to 3 hours, Ning Shu stopped. Chapter 1540. Ning Shu sat down and looked up at the sky, occasionally seeing the stars in the sky through the gaps in the leaves. Ning Shu was even more certain of her previous thoughts. They might not be able to leave this isolated island alive. All signs showed that they were like playthings. Who was controlling them? The people who made the show? What was the point? Who would do something that was unquestionable? Ning Shu wanted to see what these people wanted to do. Ning Shu even felt that this was a rich man's game. The SR Group sponsored the show and even bought the desolate island. Ning Shu released more spiritual power and the range of his detection increased. As a result, not far away, he found a body. This body was naked, and it was a female body. The most terrifying thing was that a pair of breasts had been cut off. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at the sky. It was the housewife. After Wu Wan parted with her, she was killed, and the obvious female parts were cut off. Everyone had a dagger in their hands. Ning Shu had thought that it was used for self-defense, but now it seemed that it was used to kill people. Who killed Wu Wan? Ning Shu focused his spiritual power on Wu Wan's 2 breasts. The cut flesh was very smooth and there were no messy cuts. It was enough to understand the human body. The cut places were really 2 lumps on the chest, leaving 2 round bloody holes. It seemed that the murderer's hands were not trembling. If it was an ordinary person, they would have cut it off with a scratch, and the flesh would have been cut in a mess. Therefore, Ning Shu concluded that this might have been done by the doctor. There was a doctor in the information. The lawyer, the doctor, all had blood on their hands. Wu Wan was dead, and her leukemia daughter would be in a very bad situation in the future. The father didn't care, and without a mother, leukemia was particularly easy to infect, and a cold could have serious consequences. A small cut on the skin could cause the person to bleed to death. Ning Shu didn't know what to say. Ning Shu didn't plan to get close to the body. If she was caught on camera, she wouldn't be able to explain herself. Ning Shu's heart flashed, and he quickly walked back with the branches. It was very easy to get lost in the jungle. In addition, it was dark, so Ning Shu had no way of finding his way back. In addition, Ning Shu was quite far away, so it would be a little difficult for him to go back and find a lawyer. Ning Shu had a vague feeling that anyone who came into contact with her would eventually die. The housewife who had tried to kill her had her chest gouged out. If the lawyer died, some of Ning Shu's ideas might be valid. There were some people who could do whatever they wanted. If her existence wasn't accused, the final outcome would be even more tragic than the people who had died. The jungle was so dense that Ning Shu couldn't even raise his head to look at the stars in the sky, let alone identify the direction. Her every move was under the watchful eyes of others. This feeling was really unpleasant. Ning Shu walked for nearly 4 hours, and his spiritual power touched a corpse. Ning Shu stopped and pretended to be tired as he sat on the ground to cultivate. 10 meters away from her, there was a corpse. It was the lawyer. The lawyer was dead. Ning Shu lowered her head, and her hair hung down, covering her face. Ning Shu's lips twitched. He couldn't figure out what she was doing now. Was she the boss? Was she left for last? Ning Shu released his spiritual power to observe the lawyer's body. It had rained yesterday, and the ground was a little muddy. The footprints were messy, and some moss plants were trampled into a mess. The lawyer's throat had been cut, and there were wounds on his hands. Obviously, he had blocked the knife with his hands. Ning Shu guessed that the person who killed the lawyer should be a very strong person who had pressed the lawyer under his body. Because the lawyer was lying on the ground, his legs kept kicking, and there was a lot of mud on the heels of his shoes. Ning Shu first thought of the gangster with the left green dragon, the right white dragon, and the right tiger engraved on him. This gangster was quite good at scaring people. His muscles were even stronger than those of a fitness trainer. He had tattoos on his body, looked fierce, and chewed gum. The client was quite afraid of him. But of course, it could be other men besides gangsters. Ning Shu continued to walk in another direction, and the route she took was more special. One moment she was in an S shape, the next she was in a B shape. It wouldn't be easy to send someone to her. Maybe she would turn just as they were about to meet. Ning Shu suspected that they had something on them that could let the people playing the game clearly know everyone's existence. Ning Shu even suspected that she wasn't a human, but an NPC in a game. Otherwise, why could the person controlling all of this be so cold and calm, and kill people without hesitation? Ning Shu limped and counted with her fingers. As far as she knew, 3 people had died. The climber was killed by the lawyer, and then the lawyer died. The housewife also died. Ning Shu was only in this mountain, and didn't know that there were people who had died without her knowledge. Ning Shu carved marks on the trees she passed by. For the past 3 days, Ning Shu had been wandering around the island. As she walked, she suddenly changed directions without a goal. Number 15. The walkie-talkie, which had been silent for a long time, finally spoke again. Someone is on the beach 300 meters away from here, trying to escape. Please stop her. An emotionless voice came from the walkie-talkie. If this person dives into the sea and escapes, this game will be over and the 10 million will be cancelled. Ning Shu leaned on the branch and walked straight ahead. Sure enough, she reached the beach. It was so comfortable to step on the sand that Ning Shu really wanted to lie down. A person was weaving something on the beach. She was using vines as thick as a thumb, trying to weave a boat that could carry her weight. It was a woman with dark skin, but she was filled with a youthful and lively aura. She shouldn't be old. Ning Shu walked over, and the dark-skinned girl immediately jumped up, holding the vines in her hands. Don't come over, I won't be polite to you. Ning Shu stopped and asked, this vine can't float in the water, right? I'm looking for dry vines, the girl said, then looked at Ning Shu warily. Are you here to stop me? Ning Shu spread his hands and said, why should I stop you? But have you thought about it? The sea is vast and boundless. Are you going to rely on this to swim back? What if you encounter a storm? Although the girl wasn't very tall, her limbs were very long. According to the information, she was the daughter of a fisherman. She was very good at swimming, but it would be difficult to swim back. Moreover, there were many dangerous species in the sea. Poisonous sea snakes, electric eels, sharks. The girl would most likely die if she went out to sea like this. Chapter 1541. Ning Shu looked at the girl's boat woven with dry vines. Although it's called a boat, it's more like a straw mat. How can this kind of boat carry people? Ning Shu turned his eyes and asked the dark-skinned girl, "It's a bit dangerous for you to go to sea with this." Ning Shu wanted to go with this girl. If he stayed here, he wouldn't be able to take the initiative. Ning Shu was very worried about the client's mother. The client's mother was lying in the hospital. Was she really kicked out by the hospital? "My name is Su Xin. My task here is to persuade you not to leave." Ning Shu said straightforwardly. No, I want to leave here. I don't want to stay in this place. I'm scared." The girl's dark skin shined under the sun. She looked terrified, stepped back, and looked at Ning Shu with vigilance and panic. "Are you going to kill me? You must be here to kill me. Everyone likes to kill each other. I'm scared." This little girl's ability grew up by the sea. Her participation in this program was purely an accident. She saw on TV that the TV station was recruiting people, and there was a 10 million bonus. Plus, the place of the program was pirates. The little girl felt that she had an advantage. So she came to participate. She should be the youngest among the 20 people. She probably saw a dead person and was afraid to run away. Ning Shu shook his head. "I won't kill you. On the contrary, I want to leave here with you." The little girl looked suspicious and said, "But not long ago, someone told me on the walkie-talkie that if you stop me from leaving the island, you're here to kill me." Ning Shu, she really knows how to play. This is to let the two of them fight. Ning Shu said, "I want to leave here more than you. So far, I have seen 2 dead people. If this drags on, everyone will die. We will also be killed by others." The little girl looked at Ning Shu with a tangled face. "You really won't kill you?" Ning Shu took the dagger from his waist and threw it into the sea. "I've already thrown away the weapon to show my sincerity. You should believe me now." The little black girl breathed a sigh of relief. "All right, I'll believe you for now." The little black girl was not very old, only about 16 years old. If it was someone else, they might not believe Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked over and asked, "How do you make this up?" "I'll weave it. You go and find this kind of vine. I want dry and tough ones. I don't want wet ones." The little black girl held the vine in her hand. The vines had to be at least as thick as a finger. Actually, it was unrealistic to rely on this to go out to sea, but Ning Shu had other ideas. The game controller would definitely not let them leave. The other party's actions were beneficial to Ning Shu. "I'm not afraid of you taking action, I'm only afraid of you not taking action." Ning Shu went to find the vines. He held the little black girl's dagger in his hand, which was used to cut the vines. Ning Shu searched for a long time and brought back a bundle of vines. As a result, he saw someone holding a dagger, step by step toward the little black girl. The little black girl fell to the ground and kept retreating. Her mouth begged in horror, "Let me go, I just want to leave here." Ning Shu walked over and stood in front of the little black girl. He looked at the man holding the dagger. "Do you not feel ashamed to make a move on a little girl?" The little black girl standing behind Ning Shu immediately stood up and hid behind Ning Shu. This man looked to be in his 40s, but there were some white hairs on his temples. He should be the oldest person in this team. The man's hand holding the dagger was trembling. His face was tangled and helpless. She can't go. If she goes, the game of survival is over. 10 million, I need 10 million. The man excitedly shouted, "I didn't want to kill her. I just want her to give up the idea of running away." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Holding a dagger, at first glance, he wanted to kill people. Using a dagger to threaten people. If you have a daughter, she should be the little black girl's age. How can you make a move on such a small child? No matter how helpless, illegally depriving innocent people of their lives is an unforgivable thing. Not to mention, the people on this island have no grudges. Do you really think it's easy to get 10 million? 10 million is just a bait, and it's an illusion. You can't eat it at all. Moreover, you have an illusion that if I do this kind of thing, I can get 10 million. Ning Shu pulled out a thick vine and pointed it at the man. "Get lost. If I see you again, I will teach you a lesson." Ning Shu pulled the vine to the ground, making the sand on the ground jump. The man sighed, "You'd better not run away. You will implicate everyone. Besides, even if you want to escape, you can't. My daughter is older than her. She's the same age as you. The middle-aged man Ning Shu said, I came to this program for my daughter's dowry. Ning Shu. Your daughter wants a dowry of 10 million? Ning Shu looked at the man. From the cut and workmanship of the man's clothes, he didn't look like a rich person. Especially the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, he looked like an ordinary laboring person. If he was really rich, there was no need for him to participate in this program. The man's expression was a little bitter. He said with a complicated expression, My daughter found a rich man. Maybe she was afraid that the other party would look down on her. She said that I am a businessman and the dowry is 10 million. She will get married soon. Ning Shu. If she could lie about this kind of thing, how could a person's family situation be hidden? She couldn't hide it for a lifetime. Could it be that the girl wanted to get married first and cook rice? She was a little naive. How unconfident was she? She didn't even dare to be true to herself. Don't run away. In a month, we will be able to leave this place. If you rely on this thing, you may lose your lives. The middle-aged man sighed and turned to leave. He stepped on the beach, one step deep and one step shallow. Ning Shu turned to the little black girl and said, Okay, let's start weaving the boat. The little black girl touched her face and asked, Am I really dark? Compared to your normal skin color, you are indeed a little darker. Ning Shu said. Ning Shu and the little black girl began to weave the vines. It's like weaving a straw mat. Then stack a few of them together and tie them up. It's similar to a bamboo raft. Ning Shu gave a thumbs up, You're really smart. If it was a child living in the city, they certainly wouldn't have such a hands-on ability. The little black girl was a little embarrassed, but her face was dark, so no one could see that she was blushing. Ning Shu learned from the little black girl. At first, it was a little slow, but then the speed became faster. The two people worked together to make several vines and straw mats, and then they overlapped a few of them together. Ning Shu found the vines and tied them together. The two people worked together to pull the boat into the water. Chapter 1542. The vine boat floated on the surface of the water and swayed with the waves. The little black girl carefully climbed onto the boat. The boat swayed and sank a little. Come up and try. The little black girl Ning Shu stretched out her hand. Ning Shu climbed up, and the boat sank a little, and the water came up. But fortunately, the boat was big enough, and the surface area was large enough, so it did not sink. The little black girl was very happy. She took the simple paddle and began to row the boat. Ning Shu sat on one side, and the little black girl sat on the other side, both of them rowing the boat. The boat slowly moved forward. Ning Shu put her hand in the water and released the power of the sun flame. A small dragon as thick as an arm swam to the bottom of the boat, arched the boat, and moved the boat forward. Ning Shu suddenly felt a lot more relaxed. This was the result of her cultivation in the past few days. Having a small fire dragon was enough. Besides, the power of the sun flame was originally the opposite of water. She didn't know how long this small fire dragon could last. The little black girl was a little surprised. She felt that rowing the boat was so laborious. I feel that the speed is a lot faster? The little black girl couldn't help but ask Ning Shu. She suspected that this was her illusion. She wanted to leave so much that she had such an illusion. Ning Shu said, I guess it's because of the current. Maybe. The little black girl squatted down and put her hand into the water to feel the speed and direction of the water. Don't put your hand into the sea. This is not a freshwater area. There are many dangerous species in the sea. Quickly pick it up. Ning Shu said. The little black girl didn't feel anything. As a person who dealt with water since childhood, she had some experience, but when she heard Ning Shu's words, she quickly took back her hand. The simple and crude boat sailed at a moderate speed, gradually leaving the island behind. Looking back at the island was a lot smaller. The little black girl breathed a sigh of relief. We finally escaped. Ning Shu hooked up the corner of his mouth and didn't speak. It was too early to say that they escaped. The night at sea was a bit cold, especially when their feet were soaked in the water. Even though it was summer, It was still unbearable. What made Ning Shu even more surprised was that she and the little black girl had escaped for a day, but the other party did not make a single move, nor did they come to intercept them. That island had already become a small black dot and was very far away. Why hadn't the other party made a move yet? He allowed them to leave. He still felt that they wouldn't survive in the sea. The little black girl put down the simple oar and said, "Let's not go at night. If we can't see at night, it will be dangerous." Ning Shu raised her head and looked at the sky. There was a half moon in the sky, but there were no stars. She couldn't even tell the direction. Ning Shu reached his hand into the water and retrieved the little fire dragon. After swimming for a day, little fire dragon had consumed a lot of energy and was much smaller than before. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground. There was water under his buttocks. The water seeped in through the gaps between the vines. It felt like the lower half of his body was soaked in water. If he could really reach home like this, Ning Shu felt that his buttocks would be snow-white. The little black girl was a little tired. She leaned on Ning Shu's body and said in a muffled voice, "I'll take a nap first. I'll change with you later." Ning Shu nodded and began to cultivate. Cultivating on the sea was a bit slow. There was water all around, which weakened the power of the fire sun. Plus, it was night. However, no matter how little the power of the fire sun was, it was still endless. The spiritual energy of the modern world was really sad. The little black girl said that she wanted to change with Ning Shu, but she fell asleep on Ning Shu's thighs. During the 10 days on the island, everyone was tense and did not dare to be careless. Ning Shu was a little speechless. Was the little black girl not afraid of her sneak attack? Sleeping like a dead pig, Ning Shu had been cultivating until dawn. She patted the little black girl's face and said, "It's time to get up." The little black girl woke up abruptly, looked around in a hurry, and then breathed a sigh of relief. She thought she was on an island. The little black girl was a little embarrassed. "I should change." Ning Shu said, "We don't have food or water." The little black girl said with a smile, "What's wrong with that? I'll go down and catch a fish. Let's eat sashimi." The little black girl said and jumped off the boat. Ning Shu could not help but shake her head. The sea was too dangerous. Did she think it was a small ditch in her home? When Ning Shu shook her head, she saw a huge white ship coming towards her. Ning Shu stood up, and the boat under her feet shook twice. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes and looked at the ship coming towards them. The people on the ship were definitely enemies and not friends. The little black girl jumped up and threw a fish on the boat. The fish jumped. The little black girl wiped the water on her face and followed Ning Shu's gaze and saw a huge ship. She immediately shouted excitedly, over here, help." Ning Shu squatted down and pressed the little black girl into the water with her hand. The little black girl's voice came to an abrupt end. Ning Shu quietly waited for the ship to approach. It was simply a huge ship. The little black girl re-emerged, coughed twice, and quickly spat out the seawater in her mouth. Ning Shu asked, "What are you doing?" "Don't be noisy. That ship belongs to the SR group who sponsored this program." Ning Shu said. "Only the financial resources of the SR group can have such a big ship." The little black girl's face was full of black question marks. Apparently, she didn't understand what Ning Shu meant. The little black girl was actually a very simple child. She didn't understand the twists and turns of it. "Can't we ask for help?" the little black girl asked. She was hoping to save them. Ning Shu looked back and couldn't see the island. Surrounded by the endless sea, he couldn't tell the direction. When she and the little black girl escaped, these people didn't move. Only when they thought they had escaped did they appear. They were in the middle of nowhere. What could they do? They were still in the palm of someone's hand. The little black girl wanted to climb on the ship, but Ning Shu said, "Don't come up first. It may be dangerous later." "What danger can there be?" The little black girl was very confused. "You'd better let me go up. It's dangerous to stay in the water. I feel something touching my foot." The little black girl thought it should be a fish. If it was something dangerous, what should she do? Ning Shu was a little helpless and nodded, "Come up." The giant ship was getting closer and closer. Finally, it was in front of them. The waves of the giant ship almost overturned the vine boat under Ning Shu's feet. The little black girl and Ning Shu squatted on it, holding the vines under their feet tightly so as not to capsize. The giant ship stopped, and someone on the ship spoke with a loudspeaker, "Tie the rope to your body and pull you up." 2 ropes were thrown down. Ning Shu looked up and saw someone pointing a gun at her and the little black girl. "This armed force?" the little black girl Ning Shu asked. "Should we go up?" "Do you see the gun?" Ning Shu raised her eyelids. "It will shoot a hole in you." Chapter 1543. Ning Shu took the rope and wrapped it around her waist a few times, tying it tightly. When the little black girl saw Ning Shu began to tie, she also picked up the rope and tied it around her body. He even asked somewhat unrealistically, "Does this count as saving us?" Ning Shu grinned. "How is that possible? There are still people on the island. Can we ask the people on the ship to save them?" The little black girl Ning Shu asked. Ning Shu smiled. "You think too much." Ning Shu pulled the rope, indicating to the people on the ship that they have been tied and can pull. The people on the ship began to pull. The rope was very uncomfortable. This ship was bigger than Ning Shu imagined. It was almost 30 meters high. When they looked down, their small boat looked like a tattered handkerchief. Ning Shu and the little black girl were pulled up to the deck. There were many guns pointed at them. The little black girl has never seen such a scene. Her body trembled with fear. Ning Shu untied the rope on his body and asked, "Am I going to see your master now?" The leader was a lean man. His sharp eyes stared at Ning Shu and finally said, "Follow me, don't let the miss wait for a long time." Ning Shu followed the leader and looked at the man in front of him. Although the man was thin, his muscles were strong, not the kind that was flashy. His explosive power was very strong. The little black girl's face was full of fear. She couldn't help but look around. Seeing such a luxurious ship, she couldn't move her eyes away. However, there were several guns pointing at her from behind. The little black girl suppressed her amazement. The lean man opened the door. Ning Shu and the little black girl said, "Are you ready?" It seems that they still have to dress up before they can go see the Mississippi. Ning Shu walked into the room. The little black girl quickly followed. The lean man warned Ning Shu, "Don't touch the things in the room." Then he closed the door. The lean man looked at the water stains on the floor, dripping all the way. "Find someone to clean this place up. We can't let Miss see this," the skinny man said to the people holding the guns. "Yes." The lean man was guarding the door, waiting for Ning Shu and the little black girl to come out. Wow, I've never seen such a beautiful place." Ning Shu saw a row of clothes and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. "Wait for me." In this kind of environment, the little black girl was at a loss and could only follow Ning Shu to find a sense of security. Ning Shu filled the bathtub with hot water, lay in it, and turned on the massage. It was so comfortable. It was a massaging bathtub. The little black girl did not know how to use the things in the bathroom. Seeing Ning Shu lying in the bathtub, she also squeezed in. Fortunately, the bathtub was big enough for 2 laps. "Big sister, do you think we've come to an incredible place?" The little black girl played with the bubbles. Ning Shu grinned and rubbed his tense and trembling muscles. Listening to the lean man talking about Miss, was she the one who planned all this? Looking at the lean man's action, he should know her. And to the little black girl. "Knock, knock." There was a knock on the door. "Please hurry up. Come out in 5 minutes." Ning Shu came out of the bathroom and took a handkerchief to dry his body. From the row of clothes, he chose a pair of high-waisted trousers and a pair of flat-heeled shoes. It was a very simple and convenient outfit. The little black girl looked at so many beautiful clothes and did not know which one to choose. Looking at the beautiful dresses, she could not move her eyes away. Her eyes were full of desire. No girl would want to have a beautiful dress. Ning Shu picked a dress for her. "This color suits you." "Thank you, big sister." When the little black girl was ready, Ning Shu opened the door. The lean man glanced at Ning Shu and the little black girl. "You follow me." The lean man led the way. Ning Shu's footsteps were calm, even if there were people with guns behind him. The little black girl was a bit timid. It was the first time she wore such a beautiful dress. She did not know where to put her hands and feet. The lean man took Ning Shu and the little black girl to a door. This door was made of thick aluminum alloy. There was a fingerprint identification on the door. The lean man stood in front of the identification system in front of the door. It matches the inventory information. Please come in. The sound of the door was heard, and the door opened. The lean man turned his head to Ning Shu and said, "Come in with me." The lean man pushed the door open and Ning Shu followed him in. As soon as he entered, Ning Shu saw a wall with many players. The players were playing the situation on the island clearly. Everyone was under his control. Everyone's position was marked very clearly, and there was also a number for each person. Those who were already dead were numbered with a large number. There were 2 people in this room, these 2 women. A short-haired woman was commanding the people on the island with a headset. The other woman had dense seaweed-like hair. She was sitting next to the short-haired woman. She looked very lazy. Just the side of her face was enough to make people's imagination run wild. Her high heels were hooked on her toes and swayed. She was a peerless and charming woman. "This big sister is so beautiful," the little black girl exclaimed. The little black girl was naturally talking about the woman with the seaweed-like curly hair. Hearing the little black girl's words, the charming woman turned her head. Ning Shu's eyes flashed with amazement. Her red lips were like flames. She was beautiful and exquisite. "Miss, the people are here." The lean man bowed his head and reported. The charming woman nodded and waved her hand. The lean man immediately went out. From the beginning to the end, the lean man bowed his head and did not dare to look at the young lady. When he went out, the lean man closed the door. "Big sister is so beautiful." The little black girl swore that this was the most beautiful woman she had ever seen in her life. She was like a fairy. Ning Shu's mouth twitched and said, "What big sister? She grew a penis." Moreover, it was a big penis. Using his spiritual force, Ning Shu looked at people as if they were stripped naked. Looking a little deeper, Ning Shu could see her internal organs. You can't turn into a woman with fake breasts. Moreover, these breasts were attached to the skin. No wonder her chest was covered so tightly. The charming woman raised her eyebrows and looked at Ning Shu. "Who are you calling a man?" The charming man opened his mouth and asked. His voice was clearly a man's clear voice. The little black girl's chin fell to the ground. She looked at the woman in a daze. "You're wrong. I am a woman." The charming woman's voice turned into a woman's somewhat shrill voice. Her words were tactful and charming. The little black girl's face was sluggish. She had been fooled. The short-haired woman with the headset turned her head and looked at Ning Shu. This woman's expression was indifferent. Even her eyes were cold. "Little sister, this is the person you want to leave until the end. I have said before, people who are out of control must be dealt with first." The charming woman, "No," the man said. Chapter 1544. The short-haired woman and the charming man's eyebrows are very similar. They should be brother and sister. "Sister, I like to see people think they have succeeded, but in the end, they are sent to hell." The short-haired woman coldly said. "Naughty." The charming man poked the tip of her nose. Ning Shu was speechless. He felt like he saw an incestuous love. Ning Shu coughed, breaking the strange atmosphere between the brother and sister. The charming woman picked up the walkie-talkie. "Li Zhao, come in." With a ding sound, the door opened, and the lean man came in. The charming man said with a woman's voice, "Take this dark girl down to eat something." Presumably, after so many days on the island, she must be hungry. "By the way, send a meal to fill the stomach of this young lady. This young lady wants to have a good chat with this young lady." "Sister?" The little black girl grabbed Ning Shu's hand. Ning Shu comforted her. "It's okay, go and eat something. Many people can't eat the things on this ship in their lifetime. It's a waste not to eat." "Then I'll go." "Sister, be careful." Even if the little black girl has a big heart, but seeing the things on the screen, she can guess a bit. But fortunately, she didn't say anything. Ning Shu nodded. The charming woman looked at Ning Shu, flirted with her hair. "You're so good to her, aren't you afraid that she will make a move on you?" Ning Shu lightly looked around, pulled a chair and sat down. I'm tired, let's sit and talk. I want to ask you, you put me alone with you two siblings, aren't you afraid that I will make a move? Ning Shu crossed his legs. I know martial arts. The charming man smiled. His smile was like a flower, beautiful and dazzling to the eyes. Ning Shu looked away. A man like this, it made Ning Shu feel like a failure as a woman. Laugh your head off. Ning Shu indifferently looked at the charming man and asked, Are you a pervert? You're a man, but you pretend to be a woman. If you want to be a woman, you don't have to cut off your penis. Just put on real breasts. The charming man narrowed his eyes. I thought you were disobedient before, but now it seems that the words you say are more unpleasant than the things you do. Ning Shu spread his hands and said, I still like the sound of a woman's voice when you use your red lips. Otherwise, when I look at your face and listen to a man's voice, it will be very out of character. My name is Gong Rong, what about you? Gong Rong seemed to be in a good mood. Gong Rong, a name that could be either male or female. Don't you know my name? You should know my 18 generations of ancestors. Ning Shu said indifferently as he looked at the situation on the screen. How many people are still alive? Ning Shu asked. Gong Rong smiled. Take a guess. Ning Shu smiled and gave him the middle finger in his heart. Are you crazy? Gong Rong actually nodded. I am sick. Crazy? No. Ning Shu changed the topic. How could he do such a thing? Why did you kill so many people? Gong Rong smiled and said, Miss, relax. My sister and I didn't kill anyone. Are those people ghosts? We didn't kill those people. Ning Shu thought, motherfucker crazy, why did you create such a tragic survival game? You lied to everyone. Ning Shu said coldly. Gong Rong spread his hands. His fingers were slender and his nails were round and glossy. He even had nail polish on them. But when he thought that he was a man, Ning Shu felt a little disgusted. How can you say that we lied? The winner does get a prize of 10 million, but he can only enjoy it in prison because he killed everyone on the island just to get the 10 million. Ning Shu was speechless. What's the purpose? Ning Shu asked. You were the one who instigated people to kill. When did we instigate people? What evidence do you have? And we have evidence. These are all evidence. Gong Rong's jade-like finger pointed at the rows of screens and finally moved to Ning Shu's face. Originally, you were chosen as the final winner. Fu-er is still young, so there are bound to be loopholes in the arrangement. Gong Rong shook his head and said, the short-haired Gong Fu said, Sister, actually, it's not bad to escape punishment. Even if she really escapes, the people on the island are dead. These people are all killed by her. She will be a rat who can't see the light for the rest of her life. What's the difference between that and being in prison? Gong Rong touched Gong Fu's head. Fu, the management of SR Group is not so simple. If you don't feel confident, don't do anything. If there is a chance, then make the other party unable to turn the situation around. What did you learn from this exercise? Gong Rong asked. Everyone can't escape from greed. Money is a sharp weapon. Everyone has a weakness. Gong Fu said coldly, money is our weapon. Inheriting SR Group and strengthening it is to polish our weapon. We can control others, especially ignorant and greedy people. Gong Rong curled her red lips. But remember, a weapon will always be a weapon. Ning Shu was so shocked that he clapped his hands. She couldn't imagine the world of the rich. She couldn't imagine the education of the rich. She could make clouds and rain with a flip of her hand. This was just an exercise, a game with money as the bait. She wanted to use the money in her hands and the other party's weakness. Ning Shu was thinking that whether he left the island or not, the crime of murder would be put on her. She was so crazy. She would either be sentenced to life imprisonment, death, or a lifetime of escape. Damn it, I can't take the blame for so many things. She was indeed awesome. Gong Rong turned her head to look at Ning Shu. She sat opposite Ning Shu, propping up her chin. She pouted her red lips and asked, What do you think of my sister's command? Very good. Hit the snake where it hurts. Dig out the roots first. Your sister can be considered a ruthless person. Ning Shu said. Basically, no one could resist the word greed. Was Gong Rong not greedy? Was Gong Fu not greedy? They were so greedy that they wanted to control the whole world. I also think it's not bad. Then I can rest assured that SR Group will be handed over to Fu. Gong Rong's face was as white as snow. She was prettier than a woman. Ning Shu said lightly, have you never thought that if you don't live, all the schemes and tricks are useless? If the two of you die, will SR Group fall apart because of this? Gong Rong smiled. Of course not. Ning Shu also smiled, but if the two of you die, there will be people who will be elated. On the screen, another number was marked with a big red cross. Gong Rong said casually, another one died. Ning Shu frowned. You siblings are really disgusting. It was like killing a chicken, so indifferent and natural. This person died at the hands of us siblings? No way. Gong Rong looked at her hand. It's very clean. Chapter 1545. Ning Shu felt that it would be easy for him to kill this pair of siblings. Gong Rong's sophistry was an eye-opener for Ning Shu. Do you think your hands are clean? Ning Shu asked. Are they not clean? Gong Rong asked. Gong Rong suddenly grabbed Ning Shu's hands and looked at them over and over again. Can you guarantee that your hands are clean? They are not clean. They had been stained with blood. She had saved and killed people along the way. How could they be clean? But Ning Shu had a clear conscience. Ning Shu pulled his hand out of Gong Rong's grasp. Ning Shu felt goosebumps all over his body. You're angry because you're incompetent. You came for the money, but you feel that you're innocent. SR Group's money doesn't come from nowhere. Moreover, the 10 million is real. It's for the only survivor. Ning Shu's face was cold. He tilted his head and looked at Gong Rong. Continue to brag. Did I drive a knife and let you participate in the show? Did I drive a knife and let you kill people? If you had a little bit of rationality and thought about it, you wouldn't have participated. One is willing to be beaten and the other is willing to be beaten. Ning Shu nodded. Yes. It's all our fault. You're innocent. You're all peerless white lotuses. Ning Shu looked at Gong Fu, who was wearing an earpiece, and asked, will she be the successor of SR Group? This drill is a test? Gong Rong nodded. It's time for me to retire. Ning Shu's eyes turned and asked again, is it true that you're sick? Gong Rong nodded. Of course it's true. What illness? Guess I have cat disease. Ning Shu supported his chin and looked at Gong Rong's back. If the successor of SR Group died, it would be amazing. It would be amazing if Gong Rong, who had cat disease, could die. I remember that your mother needs a kidney transplant. She even found it and is ready for surgery? It was clearly a question, but Gong Rong's tone sounded like she was stating a fact. Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. This pair of brother and sister were really good at grasping the weaknesses of others. Ning Shu didn't deny or admit it. He just stared at Gong Rong. Is it a glorious thing for you to grab onto other people's weaknesses? Ning Shu asked incredulously. Ning Shu didn't dare to act rashly, and he didn't know what was going on with the client's mother. The contestants participated in this program because of their mothers. Their mother whom they depended on for survival. Ning Shu finally understood that the so-called survival program was just a cover that SR Group had let the TV station come up with. They were playing a real-life game. We are not on the same level. Our worldviews are different. For example, there are many audience members who like to watch bullfights. The bullfighter clearly knows that it's very dangerous and that he might be killed by the bull, but if he dies for money, can you blame the audience? Ning Shu said indifferently, don't talk to me about the world. I haven't even seen the world. When would she be able to successfully construct her world? In other words, you deserve it. Do you think you are innocent? We are cruel rich people. Every class has its privileges. Otherwise, why do people have to work so hard to climb up? The pursuit of fairness is something that only the weak of the lower class are obsessed with. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong inexplicably. You are talking so much to me. Are you trying to change my worldview? Gong Rong spread out her hands. Sorry, I talked a little too much. It's just that it's been a long time since I talked to someone like this. Ning Shu sneered in his heart. When he was about to stand up, he heard the sound of the door opening. The lean man, Li Zhao, pushed the dining cart in and pushed it in front of Ning Shu. He opened the lid and put a steak on the table. After the steak was served, another dessert was served. Ning Shu had learned how to make pastries. Looking at these pastries, they must have been made by a chef. The color was beautiful and the shape was exquisite. Gong Rong said to Ning Shu while supporting her chin. Ning Shu sniffed the steak. Did you poison it, or is this the last dinner? Gong Rong's red lips opened slightly. How could it be? If it's the last dinner, I will definitely make something delicious for you. Fu, you should go eat too. Gong Rong said to her sister. Gong Fu took off her headset and walked over. Sister, you're not coming with me? Gong Fu glanced at Ning Shu. Don't tell me you want to accompany her? Go ahead. I think it's quite interesting to talk to her. Gong Rong said gently. Gong Fu glanced at Ning Shu again before turning to leave. Ning Shu pointed his finger at Gong Fu under the table and an invisible force entered Gong Fu's body. Gong Fu's body froze and her face turned ugly. She couldn't help but clutch her chest. She felt as if she had bumped into something invisible. After a spasm, the feeling disappeared. Gong Rong hurriedly stood up and walked to Gong Fu's side. She asked with concern, Fu, what's wrong? Gong Rong's concern for her sister was sincere. Ning Shu cut the steak. The steak tasted very good. Gong Fu shook her head. It's fine. Gong Rong said to Li Zhao, protect Miss well. Li Zhao bowed and sent Gong Fu out. She followed closely behind Li Zhao. Gong Rong sat in front of Ning Shu again. She looked at Ning Shu and said, I especially don't like you looking at me like I'm a murderous demon. Ning Shu shrugged, I don't. Different classes have different thoughts. Just like now, you're eating beef. Have you thought about what the cow is thinking? Aren't the resources that humans need to survive all taken from other species? The food chain doesn't only exist for different species. The food chain between humans also exists. Gong Rong propped up her chin and looked at Ning Shu. Is the beef delicious? Ning Shu put down his knife and fork. He had lost his appetite. Why are you talking so much to me? Ning Shu's face was cold. I want to change your rotten and naive thinking, Gong Rong said. Ning Shu became even colder. I thank you. Thank you to your whole family. You changed my worldview and then? Ning Shu asked. Gong Rong was really bored out of her mind. Nothing. I think the world is very stupid and easy to incite. Gong Rong propped up her chin, very naive. Ning Shu picked up his fork and ate the dessert. The world is stupid. You're the smartest, huh? Little girl, I don't like your tone. Gong Rong shook her head and said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Do you want me to kneel on the ground and kowtow 3 times and 9 times? Are the desserts delicious? Gong Rong asked. Ning Shu nodded. Not bad, not bad. With a ding, the door opened. There were more than 10 people wearing bulletproof vests and holding guns. Chapter 1546. Why did such an armed force suddenly rush in? Ning Shu stood up, his body tensed as he watched Gong Fu walk in. Gong Fu coldly said, Sister, when can you change your bad habit of talking nonstop? Gong Rong asked, Finished eating so quickly? Sister, there's no need to talk so much with her. Capture her. Gong Fu lightly said. Don't try to resist. These guns are the latest models. They are very lethal and very fast. If you obediently submit, you'll still be alive. If you resist, you won't even be alive. Gong Fu coldly said. Sister, I don't like her. She doesn't have any self-awareness. Gong Fu coldly stared at Ning Shu. Probably because Ning Shu's attitude was too relaxed from the beginning to the end, it made Gong Fu's heart very unhappy. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. Why are you capturing me? Of course it's to complete my arrangements and let you be the last person. You'll receive a reward of 10 million. Don't you need money to save your mother? This money is enough for the surgery. But even if your mother is saved, you'll have to go to jail. No, maybe you'll have to eat a bullet. Ning Shu rolled his eyes, making Gong Fu's expression even colder. The short-haired Gong Fu was cold and emotionless. Her eyes were like ice shards. Gong Fu waved her hand and a person shot at Ning Shu. Ning Shu's hand on the table barely avoided the bullet. Ning Shu exclaimed in her heart. The speed of the bullet was really too fast. If it wasn't for the help of her mental power, she wouldn't have been able to avoid it. The Gong family actually had such an advanced weapon. Who knew how many armed forces were on this ship? If they all fired at her, Ning Shu didn't think she could avoid it. Ning Shu placed one hand on the table and grabbed the steak knife. His body slid on the table and slid to Gong Rong's side. With lightning speed he seized Gong Rong. Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's neck and laughed. Do you believe that I won't kill her? Brother, sister, let go of my sister. Gong Fu's cold face cracked. Gong Rong burst into laughter and reached out to grab Ning Shu's hand that was around her neck. Gong Rong wanted to throw Ning Shu over her shoulder, but she found that Ning Shu was too strong. He was a man, but he couldn't pull the woman's hand away. Gong Rong's expression slowly turned serious. What do you want? Gong Fu coldly looked at Ning Shu and asked, You better let go of my sister. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee that you will be able to leave this place alive. Ning Shu placed the shiny knife on Gong Rong's neck and pierced it, causing blood to seep out. Even if I'm going to die, I'm going to drag your big brother down with me. No, big sister, who cares about him, will die together. Ning Shu felt that this scene was very familiar. She had fucking kidnapped someone again. He was afraid that she would end up in the same situation as before. This mission wouldn't fail, right? Prepare a yacht for me. Fill the yacht with oil and put the little black girl on it. Gong Fu's face was cold. Ning Shu expressionlessly used the knife to stab Gong Rong's neck. Go prepare the yacht. Gong Fu had no choice but to order the skinny man, Li Zhao. Li Zhao quickly bowed and went to do it. Ning Shu slowly moved towards the door. Gong Rong was taller than Ning Shu, so she could only bend her legs. It was very uncomfortable. Gong Rong opened her mouth and said, Little girl, can we discuss this? I can walk on my own. It's very uncomfortable for you to drag me along like this. Ning Shu chuckled in Gong Rong's ear. Even if it's uncomfortable, you have to endure it. I'm being pointed at by a gun. I'm very scared. Gong Rong couldn't help but say, To be honest, we are so close, but I can't even feel your breasts. Fuck you. Ning Shu kicked Gong Rong's leg. If you talk nonsense again, I'll be scared and slit your neck. Ning Shu said indifferently, But I touched your fake breasts. Gong Rong lowered her head and saw a hand on her chest. She asked, How does it feel? Fuck, the quality of your silicone is not good. Ning Shu said while dragging Gong Rong to the deck outside. Many black muzzles were pointed at Ning Shu. Fuck, there are so many guns. I'm a little scared. Ning Shu said, Have you prepared the yacht that I asked you to? Are you scared? Gong Rong asked, I see that your heart is not beating and you're not breathing. I don't think you're scared at all. You're the dead person whose heart is not beating and breath is not breathing. If you let go of my sister, I'll let you go. Gong Fu coldly said, I'll give you one last chance. Ning Shu didn't believe a single punctuation mark. He rolled his eyes and said, How about I use you to exchange for your sister? Gong Rong immediately said, No, I'll be your hostage. Sister. Gong Fu's voice was urgent. The little black girl was also dragged out. Seeing such a confrontation scene, she was so scared that her black face turned white. Li Zhao came over and said, Miss, the yacht is ready. Ning Shu said, The yacht is full of oil. Is there food and water on it? Li Zhao nodded his head. Little black girl, you go to the yacht first, we'll leave here. Compared to the size of the ship, the yacht was much smaller. The little black girl hurriedly went up the ladder to the yacht. Ning Shu loudly said to the little black girl, You check if there is food and water on the yacht. The sea was vast, without food and water, it was easy to have an accident. There is. The little black girl cupped her hands in front of her mouth and shouted to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was a bit annoyed. She kidnapped Gong Rong, so she couldn't climb down the ladder. Ning Shu moved back and turned his head to look at the small yacht below. Fuck, I might as well jump down. Ning Shu moved to the edge of the deck and was about to fall down. Gong Fu immediately said, "Isn't the thing you want already prepared?" Ning Shu smiled, "Bye-bye." Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's neck, his body leaned back and fell down from the ship. He accurately hit the small yacht. Ning Shu circulated his qi in his dantian to reduce the force of the fall, but his body was still numb. Gong Fu was so shocked that she hurriedly ran to the side of the deck. She looked down and shouted loudly, big brother, quickly start the boat." Ning Shu said to the little black girl, I don't know how to drive, I don't know how to drive a boat." The little black girl was so scared that she stammered, "Actually, I know how to drive a boat." Gong Rong's heart was still entangled. "I fell from 30 meters and fell into the small yacht, but I didn't die, even the cushion under me didn't die." The current situation was really unimaginable. Gong Rong pressed down on Ning Shu's body. She felt that her body was soft. Was this the reason why she didn't die? The question was, why didn't this woman die? Fuck. Chapter 1547. When Ning Shu heard that Gong Rong wanted to start the boat, he sneered. Don't think that she didn't see so many guns pointing at her. She still needed Gong Rong to be on top of her as a shield to block the bullets for her. Gong Rong was very puzzled. "If you don't let me start the boat, how will the boat go?" "Young Master Gong, you don't need to worry." Ning Shu released a huge formless energy. The energy drilled into the water and sank to the bottom of the boat. Then, it pushed the small yacht away. "We're moving." The little black girl said excitedly, but she was also smart. She did not stand up, but crawled in the cabin. Although it was called a small boat, it was really a small boat. It didn't even have a room. It was used for surfing and didn't even have a roof. What the hell? Gong Rong felt that he was dreaming. Otherwise, how could such a strange thing happen? No one was driving the boat, and the boat was running on its own. Moreover, it was running very fast. It was really like seeing a ghost. Ning Shu stretched out his hand and grabbed Gong Rong's beautiful long hair, pulling her head back. Gong Rong screamed in pain and was forced to raise her head. "Get off my body," Ning Shu said coldly. Gong Rong looked thin, but he was quite heavy. It was probably because of his bones. Gong Rong was pulled by his hair and said in pain, "Let go first, I'll get up when you let go." Ning Shu let go of Gong Rong's hair, and Gong Rong got up from Ning Shu's body. "Start the boat." Ning Shu used a knife to press against Gong Rong's waist. "What the fuck?" Gong Rong bared his teeth. "Be careful, my kidney is on the ground. Do you know that a man's most important place is this place?" Ning Shu, exercise? Isn't a man's most important little brother? Without a kidney, my little brother can't stand up. Gong Rong flipped his hair and climbed to the front to start the boat. The little black girl was somewhat confused as she listened to Ning Shu and Gong Rong's words. She really didn't understand the meaning of their words. Gong Rong steered the boat. Ning Shu was behind him, pressing a small knife against his waist. The speed of the ship was very fast, and soon the ship behind it became a small black dot. "Little girl, don't point the knife at me. If a wave hits and the boat jolts, the knife will stab into my body," Gong Rong said helplessly. Ning Shu chuckled. "Actually, I really want to poke holes in your body and watch your blood flow out like a fountain." Gong Rong was silent for a moment and then said, "Good idea." Ning Shu was constantly paying attention to the way Gong Rong steered the boat, and then silently memorized it. "Stop," Ning Shu said. Gong Rong didn't stop. Ning Shu stabbed the knife into his flesh. "Stop." Gong Rong stopped and touched his waist with his hand. His hand was stained with blood. He said angrily, "Didn't I say not to stab my kidney? It doesn't matter if you have a kidney or not." Ning Shu sat in the driver's seat, patted his leg and said to Gong Rong, "Sit on it." Gong Rong was a bit confused. "Sit on your lap?" "Hurry up, sit on it. Because I'm worried about you. Only when you sit in front of me, you won't dare to do anything." Ning Shu was afraid that when he steered the boat, Gong Rong would counterattack or even jump into the sea. Then the bargaining chip in her hand would be gone. Gong Rong, men and women can't be separated clearly. What kind of man are you? If you want me to stab your throat with the knife, then stand still. Ning Shu held the table knife and was about to throw it over. Gong Rong was helpless and could only sit on Ning Shu's lap. You're so heavy, Ning Shu said in a deep voice. Ning Shu steered the boat and used the satellite navigation system to locate his position. Your legs are really uncomfortable. Gong Rong felt as if she was sitting on 2 bamboo sticks. It was really uncomfortable. I promise I won't cause trouble. Be obedient and be your hostage. Don't make me sit on your lap, okay? Gong Rong said. Ning Shu immediately said, then hurry up and get up. My legs are going to break because of you. Gong Rong stood up and stood beside Ning Shu. The wind blew her hair into a mess. Ning Shu's heart was in a mess. What was she going to do in the future? After kidnapping Gong Rong, Gong Fu would definitely not let the client's mother off. She had to return to land as soon as possible and go to the hospital to see the client. She had become a kidnapper now. If she didn't pull Gong Rong, she wouldn't even be able to get out of the boat. Gong Rong's face was hurting from the wind. She sat down and tidied her hair. Ning Shu glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. You look really pitiful. Gong Rong coldly said, little girl, I'm telling you. I'm only a hostage. Don't drool over my beauty. Ning Shu pulled the corner of his mouth and laughed. Who would drool over a perverted beauty? The weather was hot. The black girl took out bottles of pure water from the box and gave one to Ning Shu and another to Gong Rong. Drink it sparingly. I don't know when we can leave the sea. Ning Shu said. As a hostage, you can only drink 1 sip. Ning Shu snatched the bottle from Gong Rong's hand. Gong Rong didn't look like a hostage. Could it be that she didn't look fierce enough? Gong Rong should be scared to the point of turning pale. Ning Shu stretched out his leg and kicked Gong Rong. Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu from the corner of her eyes. What are you doing? Be honest. I'm very honest. Ning Shu, I beg you to be in fear and trepidation. Gong Rong was really not afraid of death. Ning Shu suddenly asked, do you not have long to live? Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu and raised her eyebrows. This action was full of heroic spirit. She asked, why do you think so? You said that you have a cat disease. You're training your sister to be the successor of SR Group. You're not that old now. If you don't have long to live, you won't be so anxious. Especially after kidnapping Gong Rong, Gong Rong's actions were too calm. She didn't seem to be afraid at all. The more Ning Shu thought about it, the more he felt so. Fuck, kidnapping a dying person was useless. If this person died in her hands, she would be a kidnapper and a murderer. Gong Rong smiled, but it made Ning Shu's heart sink. How can a beauty like me die? Ning Shu released his spiritual power and scanned Gong Rong from head to toe, inside and out. He wanted to see what was wrong with Gong Rong. Ning Shu didn't see any obvious changes. He only felt that Gong Rong's internal organs were aging rapidly. They were supposed to be young and healthy, but the internal organs were like the internal organs of a person in their 50s or 60s. Ning Shu didn't say anything. It seemed that Gong Rong could still live for a while. The days at sea were very boring. Gong Rong was a little tired and lay on the chair at the back to sleep. Ning Shu asked the little black girl to keep an eye on her at all times. Ning Shu was worried about the client's mother. He even suspected that after the client arrived at the island, her mother was controlled. Chapter 1548. If the client's mother was really being controlled, then she would exchange Gong Rong for the client's mother. But when she thought about the Gong family's armed forces and the police's involvement, Ning Shu's heart was in turmoil. Ning Shu couldn't help but kick Gong Rong awake. Gong Rong opened her eyes and stared blankly at Ning Shu. Have we reached the shore? I have something to ask you. Ning Shu stepped on the stool and twirled the shiny table knife in his hand. Gong Rong stretched lazily and leaned to the side. She supported her head with her hand and asked lazily, ask away. Is my mother in your hands? Ning Shu pinched the knife with 2 fingers and narrowed his eyes at Gong Rong's face. I don't know what to say when you're like this. Can you not point the knife at me? Gong Rong smacked her lips. I'm a little thirsty. Give me some water. Ning Shu's expression was cold. You only know how to drink water. What's the use of a useless person like you? Your mother is in our hands, but she was sent to a good hospital for treatment. After all, you're participating in the game. It's our duty to treat your family well. Ning Shu, she was really in their hands. But you kidnapped me. I don't know what your mother's condition is now. Gong Rong spread her hands without any sincerity. Ning Shu could figure it out even if he used his toes to think. The client's mother's uremia was very serious. If she stopped treatment, her life was uncertain. The client died on an isolated island. Did the Gong family really pay for the client's mother's surgery? Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong suspiciously. He didn't believe Gong Rong's words. In the end, only one person received 10 million, and once they received the money, they faced the threat of being imprisoned. Them so angry. Ning Shu stabbed Gong Rong's leg with the knife. Gong Rong. Temperamental crazy woman. Ning Shu licked the bloody knife and stared at Gong Rong. Gong Rong's face was very pale, but she blinked. You're quite sexy like this. Ning Shu almost cut his own tongue. He couldn't be bothered with him and continued to sail. Without Ning Shu watching, Gong Rong immediately grimaced and covered her bleeding leg. As soon as Ning Shu turned around, Gong Rong immediately retracted her painful expression. She propped up her chin and smiled. What else do you want to ask? If anything happens to my mother, I'll kill you. You'd better hope that nothing happens to my mother. Gong Rong calmly replied, I have nothing to fear. You have a cat disease and are about to die, but what if your sister dies too? Ning Shu said with a smile. Gong Rong flipped her hair and pulled open her collar. If there's anything, just come at me. Don't look for my sister. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong's exposed fake chest. It was quite realistic. Ning Shu squeezed out a chuckle from his throat. He reached out his hand and crushed Gong Rong's fake breasts. Next time, I'll crush your lower part. Ning Shu's gaze moved down and stopped between Gong Rong's legs. Gong Rong crossed her legs and calmly said, I like humorous people like you. Help me crush the other side. Then it'll be symmetrical. Gong Rong puffed out her chest. Ning Shu also smiled and directly gave Gong Rong a big slap. I don't mind helping you to slap the other side. That way, it'll be symmetrical. Thank you, but I don't need it. Gong Rong stuck out her tongue and licked the blood stain on the corner of her mouth. Ning Shu nodded. This was the way kidnappers and hostage should get along. Whenever he thought that his client's mother was in the hands of the Gong family, Ning Shu was very unhappy, very unhappy. After sailing on the sea for a few days, they finally reached the shore. We're here, we're here. The little black girl cheered. She shouted and then burst into tears. Finally, they managed to escape. God knows how scared she was in her heart. Ning Shu pulled the boat to the shore and pulled Gong Rong off the boat. This wasn't a very big bustling port. It was a small fishing village. Many people stared at Ning Shu's group of three. Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's hand. She didn't have any jewelry on her hand. Weren't they rich? Ning Shu pushed Gong Rong's hair aside to see if there were any valuable earrings on her ears. In the end, she didn't even have ear piercings. She couldn't pretend to be a woman at all. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong indifferently. What do you have on you that's valuable? Gong Rong rolled her eyes and then said, I'm quite valuable, but no one here knows me. What a waste. Gong Rong. Ning Shu didn't believe that Gong Rong didn't have anything valuable on her. Ning Shu's hands moved up and down. He pulled open Gong Rong's clothes and found sewing marks on the inside. Ning Shu tore open her clothes and a black card fell out. Gong Rong looked up and said, If you use the black card to withdraw money, someone will know where I am soon. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. It doesn't matter. Ning Shu asked someone where the bank was and then took Gong Rong to the bank. Ning Shu inserted the black card into the card slot and turned to Gong Rong and said, Enter the password. Are you sure? Gong Rong asked. The table knife in Ning Shu's hand spun quickly, reflecting a bright luster. Pay how much? 20,000. Gong Rong entered the password and withdrew 20,000 yuan. Ning Shu gave 10,000 yuan to the little black girl. You go quickly, don't stay with me, it's dangerous. Sister. Go quickly. The little black girl took the money and turned out of the bank. Gong Rong said, you can't even take care of yourself, and you still have the mind to care about others. I think you're going to die in my hands, why do you still worry about me? Ning Shu retorted. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong's messy long hair and pulled her to a barber shop. Although it was called a barber shop, it was actually an open-air barber shop on the street. Master, just shave her hair for me, don't worry about the hairstyle. Ning Shu said to the barber. Ning Shu pressed Gong Rong on the bench and did not let her move. Little girl, it's a waste to shave her hair like this. Gong Rong's hair was slightly curly, black and very beautiful. It's okay. Ning Shu said with a smile. The barber was very straightforward. He straightened Gong Rong's hair and straightened it until it was flat. But Gong Rong's flat hair was still very handsome. The aunties and little girls passing by all looked at Gong Rong's face. Ning Shu also asked the barber to shave his hair short and make it look like a boy. After that, Ning Shu took Gong Rong to the clothing store and picked out men's clothes. Gong Rong was dressed in men's clothes, which was a simple t-shirt and jeans. But Gong Rong looked very handsome. Sure enough, she looked like a man and a woman. Ning Shu also put on men's clothes. Since they withdrew the money, the Gong family could find this place according to the black card. They had to leave quickly and go back to find the client's mother. Gong Rong was still looking at herself in the mirror, touching her flat hair. It's really hard to give up on one's natural beauty. Ning Shu pulled Gong Rong away and went to the station to buy tickets. Chapter 1549. They were still a few days away from the city, so Ning Shu planned to take the bus. Ning Shu bought 2 tickets from a scalper and got on the bus with Gong Rong. Ning Shu found a seat at the back and pushed Gong Rong to the window. Ning Shu sat next to Gong Rong and blocked his way. If Gong Rong wanted to escape, he would have to jump out of the window. Gong Rong's expression was a little bitter. He stood and refused to sit down. Ning Shu said, "Sit down." Gong Rong shook his head. "No, it's a little dirty." Gong Rong was a young master. His food, clothing, housing, and transportation were all exquisite. He had never sat in such a car before. The environment in the bus was very bad. There were snack bags on the ground, spit, chewing gum, and something that looked like urine. It was probably the adults who peed on the children. Gong Rong was not a clean freak, but he really couldn't sit in such a dirty environment. There were men and women, young and old, and all kinds of bags on the bus. There were all kinds of smells mixed together. Gong Rong felt that he smelled stinky feet and the smell of sea fish. He would rather walk. Ning Shu pressed down on Gong Rong's shoulders and directly pushed him to sit down. Gong Rong's expression changed. It was as if he had a heart attack. The bus was not full yet. They had to wait until it was full before they could start driving. Ning Shu saw that Gong Rong was drinking water and said, "Don't drink so much. When we start driving later, you can hold it in if you can't go to the toilet." Gong Rong silently twisted the bottle cap, opened the window, and breathed heavily. He felt like he was going to suffocate. At this moment, 2 uniformed police officers got on the bus. Ning Shu's expression did not change, but his heart skipped a beat. Ning Shu did not expect the police to be so fast. Previously, they had used Gong Rong's black card to withdraw money. It seemed that the police had found out where they were. The police stared at Ning Shu and Gong Rong. Gong Rong leaned her head on Ning Shu's shoulder and said to the policeman with a coquettish voice, "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen true love before?" As soon as Gong Rong said this, everyone in the car stared at him with strange expressions. Ning Shu's expression was calm. He stretched out his hand and patted Gong Rong's face. Nodding his head, he said in a low and masculine voice, "It's true love." The police officers were speechless. Ning Shu was also speechless in her heart. She didn't even understand if she and Gong Rong were gay or a concubine. The 2 policemen looked at Ning Shu and Gong Rong for a while. Gong Rong's appearance was really outstanding. However, it didn't match the information given by the higher-ups. When the 2 policemen got out of the car, Ning Shu's hanging heart slowly relaxed. Ning Shu moved closer to Gong Rong's ear and whispered coldly, "Behave yourself and don't attract attention." Gong Rong raised her small fist and punched Ning Shu in the chest. "My face attracts attention even if I don't talk." Ning Shu directly gave Gong Rong a big slap. "Stop being coquettish. If you continue to flirt, I won't be polite to you." Ning Shu saw that everyone on the bus was staring at him and said rudely, "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen true love before?" The audience. "The rich circle is really messy." Gong Rong licked the blood stains at the corner of her mouth. "You really hate my face. You're jealous of me." Ning Shu nodded. "Very jealous." Gong Rong rippled. "You're so bad." Ning Shu really wanted to slap the other side of his face. The bus slowly started and drove out of the bus station. Ning Shu's hanging heart slowly relaxed. Gong Rong seemed to be very tired. She leaned her head on Ning Shu's shoulder and fell asleep. Ning Shu directly pushed her head away. Gong Rong turned her head and leaned against the window, falling asleep. Ning Shu also closed his eyes slightly. Recently, his body had been exhausted and he basically didn't have a good sleep. First, it was on the island. Then they took a boat. However, they still couldn't escape from the Gong siblings. After that, it was a life of escape. Life was really a last resort. Ning Shu also didn't expect that he would become a kidnapper. If he hadn't kidnapped Gong Rong at that time, the problem was that he wouldn't have been able to escape. The Gong siblings were both vicious and merciless people. How could they be a saint to be able to inherit such a big business like SR Group? Although Gong Rong kept acting coquettishly, Ning Shu was always vigilant. Ning Shu originally thought that they would arrive at their destination smoothly. However, as soon as they arrived at the toll station, someone checked. The police car stopped by the roadside. Ning Shu glanced at Gong Rong, who was sleeping like a dead pig and leaning her head on his shoulder. This guy was really powerful to be able to make so many people look for him. The police went up to check. They glanced at Gong Rong, who was sleeping soundly and drooling. They glanced at Ning Shu before getting out of the car. Ning Shu didn't feel relaxed at all. Although they escaped this time, what about the next time and the next time? Especially the closer they got to the city, the stronger the police force. Ning Shu didn't feel too good. Seeing Gong Rong sleeping soundly, he really wanted to give him a big slap. However, he still felt that it was better for him to sleep like this and not cause trouble. The checks along the way were getting more and more frequent. Ning Shu felt that the chances of being exposed were getting higher and higher. Gong Fu knew that her brother was a man and was very likely to dress up as a man. She fixed Gong Rong's hair and a portrait of Gong Rong came out. When they arrived at a bus stop, Ning Shu pulled Gong Rong out of the car. They couldn't take the bus with so many people anymore. After going back and forth, Gong Rong's face was a little pale and waxy yellow. Ning Shu spread out his hands and said, "I just wanted to use you to exchange for my mother. Who knew that your family would be so troublesome, so I can only torture you." Gong Rong was listless. He really didn't have the energy to say anything to Ning Shu. He was really weak. He wished that he could hang his whole body on Ning Shu's body. Ning Shu was very impatient with Gong Rong, but if Gong Rong really died, it would be useless no matter how much she said. This mission was bound to fail. Because a kidnapper, what future could he have? Ning Shu went to the small supermarket at the bus stop to buy some food for Gong Rong. Gong Rong didn't eat much and his appetite wasn't good. Ning Shu released his spiritual force and checked Gong Rong's physical condition. Gong Rong's internal organs seemed to have aged even more than before. Gong Rong was clearly a man in his 30s. Why was he so fragile on the inside? What kind of illness was this? Was he aging prematurely? But why was there no aging skin? Gong Rong ate less, probably because of poor digestion. What kind of illness was this? Ning Shu suddenly asked, "Were you the one who was managing the SR Group before?" Gong Rong looked sullen and nodded. "I was managing it. Fu, or will be managing it from now on." It seemed that Gong Rong knew that he wouldn't live long, so he abdicated his position to train his sister. Ning Shu, then does your sister know that you won't live long? Gong Rong glanced at Ning Shu. What does this have to do with you? It seemed that Gong Fu didn't know that her sister was sick. Why do you say that I won't live long? Gong Rong asked lightly. Chapter 1550. Gong Rong didn't remember telling this woman that she didn't have long to live. Gong Rong put down the bag of bread in her hand and looked at Ning Shu. I'm 18 years old, how can I die? Ning Shu spread his hands and said insincerely, you can think whatever you want. You can't do anything with money. You can't even buy your life. Ning Shu liked to see people struggling, especially Gong Rong. Yes, just like your mother lying in the hospital. Because she doesn't have money, she can't even have surgery. Some people's lives can be bought with money, and some people's lives can't be bought with money. Gong Rong said indifferently. Ning Shu rolled her eyes at the sight of a sure-hit attack. Just like my life, it can't be bought with money. Ning Shu, you're still panting when I say you're fat. It's obviously an incurable disease. Ning Shu had no choice. He had to go through a lot of twists and turns to go back. Ning Shu planned to take an illegal car. It was fine if he was cheated of some money, but he could get there smoothly. This kind of illegal car had connections. It was better than taking a bus that had to be checked every time it passed a toll booth. Ning Shu didn't want to complicate things. The most important thing now was the client's mother. The driver of the illegal car was indeed very evil. He actually took Ning Shu a lot of detours and let Ning Shu lose nearly 20 red notes. Ning Shu cursed in his heart. But he still gave it. It wasn't her money anyway. When they arrived at the bustling city, Ning Shu took Gong Rong to a small hotel to stay. Gong Rong lay on the bed and sighed. Why don't you stay in a better hotel? That won't do. There are too many people here who know you. I don't want to be exposed. Ning Shu pulled a chair and sat opposite Gong Rong. Gong Rong, let's talk openly. My purpose is only for my mother. If my mother is alive, the Gong family will let me go. I won't hurt you. Gong Rong lowered her eyelids slightly, her long eyelashes covering her eyes. We don't trust each other. It's useless to say these things. Ning Shu, I want to kill the hostage, don't stop me. Just as Gong Rong had said, Ning Shu did not trust the Gong family at all. When Gong Rong returned, wouldn't she chase after her relentlessly? She was alone with a patient. No matter how she looked at it, it was difficult for her. The current situation was in a deadlock. They couldn't send Gong Luo away, but they couldn't not send him away either. Furthermore, they couldn't let him die in her hands. Ning Shu really wanted to give Gong Rong a good beating. But when he saw that Gong Rong's beautiful face had lost all color, and she looked haggard and weak, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Ning Shu was really afraid that he would die from a single punch. Ning Shu changed the topic. Why are you cross-dressing? Gong Rong stretched. Take a guess. I'm going to take a shower. Gong Rong entered the bathroom, but soon stuck her head out with a pink soap in her hand. Gong Rong's expression was incredulous as she asked, I want to ask, is this soap full of essential pigments used for bathing? Ning Shu nodded. Have a good bath. Can you help me buy better bathing products? Gong Rong asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu shook his head. A hostage has to have the awareness and mindset of a hostage. Is it appropriate for you to ask for bathing products like this? It's appropriate, Gong Rong said matter-of-factly. Appropriate my ass. I'm not used to this. I might have an allergic reaction, Gong Rong said. What's the difference between this and sulfuric acid? Ning Shu squinted. Of course there's a difference. What difference? Once you splash sulfuric acid on it, it will rot. This won't rot. Gong Rong. Wash if you don't want to wash, I'll help you wash. After you're clean, there's business to be done. Ning Shu's face was dark, and his heart was burning with anxiety. Now that he was back, he felt even more uneasy. The client hadn't even graduated from university, and there had been no news for so long. He didn't know if she could continue studying in university. But now, she couldn't even keep her life. Her life might be ruined. Because it was a small hotel, there were probably many couples. The room was very ambiguous, and the glass of the bathroom was hazy. Ning Shu stared straight at Gong Rong's enchanting body. She wiped her legs and arms and washed the eggs. Ning Shu looked away indifferently. His eyes were burning. It's not done yet. How long are you going to wash? Ning Shu had never seen a man wash for so long. He probably even brushed his toes. Ning Shu felt that he lived rougher than a man. It'll be done soon. Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the TV remote control and turned on the TV. The TV was broadcasting the news. It was about the kidnapping of the head of the SR group. They even posted photos, hoping that the masses of Chaoyang City could find the murderer. Then, Gong Rong's sister, Gong Fu, was ordered to take over the SR group. Gong Rong came out with steam all over her body. She looked at the news on the TV and said with a smile, Fodder did well. Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and didn't say anything. Gong Fu did this to put psychological pressure on the kidnapper. If it was a kidnapper with an unstable mentality, it was very likely that he would kill the hostage out of anger and fear. Gong Rong even said that Gong Fu did well. She was fearless just because she didn't have long to live, right? He had to get rid of this hot potato, Gong Rong, as soon as possible. After Gong Rong finished showering, Ning Shu took her to inform the Gong family. When they arrived at a public phone, Ning Shu inserted money and asked Gong Rong, "What's your phone number?" Gong Rong looked down at Ning Shu's head. "You want to call my house? I have to save my mother. I'll use you in exchange. Don't talk nonsense." "What's the phone number?" Gong Rong said a string of numbers and Ning Shu dialed it. The person who answered the phone seemed to be a servant. Ning Shu directly said that he was looking for 2nd Mississippi. There was a ding on the other end of the phone. It seemed that the call had been transferred to Gong Fu's room. Gong Fu's voice was cold and emotionless. Even through the phone line, Ning Shu felt that his ears were numb from the cold. Ning Shu coughed. "Yes, it's me. Do you remember me? Who are you?" Ning Shu was speechless. "Someone who plays with your brother. We even went on a 4-day cruise." Ning Shu said, "Su Exen, what did you do to my brother?" Ning Shu asked back, "What did you do to my mother?" Gong Fu sneered silently. "What do you think? If you dare to do anything to my mother, I. Ning Shu didn't say anything over the phone. He passed the phone to Gong Rong. "Speak properly." Ning Shu stared at Gong Rong fiercely. Gong Rong took the phone and called Fu softly. Her voice was so soft that Ning Shu shivered. "How disgusting." "I'm fine. Don't worry. Do whatever you want. I'm doing very well. I plan to travel around. You take good care of SR Group." Gong Rong said. Ning Shu nodded. Well said. With that, she was no longer a kidnapper. Chapter 1551. Gong Rong told Gong Fu some things to take note of and started chatting endlessly. Ning Shu snatched the phone and inserted coins into it. He said to Gong Fu, "Miss Gong, I took good care of your brother. I let him eat and sleep well. Your brother also had fun with me. We are going to travel together in the future," Ning Shu said. "So?" Gong Fu's voice was extremely cold. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu hung up the phone angrily. Gong Rong raised her eyebrows and asked, "Why don't you need me to exchange for your mother?" Ning Shu kept saying that he wanted to exchange for his mother. Why didn't he say that just now? "I'm also a person with a temper." Ning Shu dragged Gong Rong into the dark internet cafe. The internet cafe was filled with smoke and the air was turbid. Gong Rong looked as if she had eaten shit. Ning Shu paid the money and found a computer. He asked Gong Rong, "Which hospital did you hide my mother in?" Gong Rong shook her head. Ning Shu pulled Gong Rong's face. "Where?" Ning Shu wanted to pull her hair, but Gong Rong's hair was gone. "I know the previous hospital. But you kidnapped me. Fodder will move." Ning Shu pulled at Gong Rong's face. "Which hospital was it before?" XX hospital. Gong Rong said a hospital. Ning Shu let go of Gong Rong's face. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She started hacking again. She wanted to check the information of the hospital where the client's mother was. "We can't say that word between us." Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu with a dark expression. She asked, "What word?" "Of course it's kidnapping." We have a deep friendship. How can it be considered kidnapping? I gave you an activity to stimulate you. Are you excited? Gong Rong put on a fake smile. I like shameless people like you. Yes, so you have to tell your sister that I didn't kidnap you. This is just a game, a kidnapping game, just like your survival game. Ning Shu guided him patiently. Gong Rong chuckled and looked at the computer with her chin propped up. Yes, your mother was discharged from this hospital the day you kidnapped me. Ning Shu angrily slammed the keyboard on the table. After that, Ning Shu checked the patient information of various hospitals, but there was no information about the client's mother. Could it be that the Gong family had already dealt with Su Xian's mother? The client's mother's illness was very serious. There were so many hospitals, but there was no information about the client's mother. Could it be that the treatment had stopped? Ning Shu abruptly turned his head and gloomily stared at Gong Rong. If she failed her mission, Ning Shu would definitely blow up the Gong family's mansion with explosives. If that doesn't work, I'll blow up your corporation, Great Xia. For the first time, Gong Rong felt a strong killing intent from this little girl. It was a real killing intent. Previously, Gong Rong dared to make a scene because she didn't have any killing intent. Now that she couldn't find her mother, she was desperate. Gong Rong frowned and said, "You don't have to worry. Many hospitals don't register VIP wards." Ning Shu laughed sarcastically. Could it be that your Gong family will take care of my mother with the best treatment? I've kidnapped you. Who knows how angry your Gong family will be? Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's wrist with a lot of force. Gong Rong felt that her wrist was about to break. Ning Shu called the Gong family again. This time, he didn't need Gong Rong to tell him the number. Ning Shu called them. Gong Rong stared at Ning Shu. He was a hacker with such a good memory. He was indeed a talent. This person had too many unsolved mysteries and too many strange things. But he didn't have much time left. No matter how many secrets she had, it was none of his business. The call connected. Ning Shu coldly said, "Gong Fu, where's my mother?" "I don't know." Gong Fu's voice was cold and full of contempt. Ning Shu laughed coldly. "I thought you two were very close. My mother is in your hands and your brother is with me. I think that if you stay any longer, I'll definitely become your sister-in-law." Ning Shu was deliberately provoking Gong Fu. Wishful thinking. "Who do you think you are?" Gong Fu scolded. Her embarrassment turned into anger. Her disdain was obvious. "That's why you have to hurry and come pick up your brother. Your brother said that if you don't come, he'll be so sad that he'll broadcast himself jumping off a building." Gong Rong. The other end of the phone was silent for a while. Miss Gong Fu was probably trying her best to suppress the anger in her heart and the anger of being offended. "Okay, what's the location?" Gong Fu's voice became colder. "Okay, I'll tell you at midnight. I want to see my mother. She must be in good condition." Ning Shu hung up the phone. Gong Rong shook her head. "Fu is too young and impetuous. It's good for you to grind her." Ning Shu laughed. "Treat me as a whetstone. Don't break the knife in the end." Ning Shu laughed coldly in his heart. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Gong Rong. She might not win, but the Gong siblings couldn't win either. Gong Rong felt goosebumps from Ning Shu's stare. She asked, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Ning Shu said indifferently, "I think you're old again." Gong Rong was stunned. Then she smiled and said, "I'll always be 18 years old." "It's good that you can maintain a young girl's heart." Ning Shu dragged Gong Rong back to the hotel. He bought some food to eat. Gong Rong's diet was very light. Moreover, his appetite was very small. It was like eating bird food. Ning Shu and Gong Rong formed a sharp contrast. Now Ning Shu didn't eat extravagantly. Even if he ate extravagantly, he still had to eat elegantly. Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu eating so much and was a little surprised. "This is the first time I've seen a woman who can eat so much. You're so ignorant. You haven't even seen the entire world. You want to talk about the world with me? Hee hee." Ning Shu's face was full of ridicule. Gong Rong put down her chopsticks. The food in her bowl was basically untouched. Ning Shu asked, "How did you grow so big when you eat so little?" Eating is actually very troublesome. I always inject. Gong Rong said. Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. He directly injected the nutrients that the body needed to reduce the consumption of the internal organs. This way, he could alleviate the aging of the internal organs. Ning Shu couldn't figure out why Gong Rong's internal organs were aging. Of course, Ning Shu wouldn't save Gong Rong. As long as Gong Rong didn't die in her hands, it would be fine. Besides, she couldn't save her. After eating, Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the bed, digesting and conserving her energy for the night. Gong Rong obediently lay beside Ning Shu and slept. He felt that Gong Rong was getting more and more sleepy. Ning Shu cultivated while paying attention to the time. When it was 8 o'clock in the evening, Ning Shu woke Gong Rong up. We're going to exchange now. Ning Shu brought Gong Rong to the big shopping mall. It was summer now. Many people went to the mall to freeload the air conditioner. The large number of people made Gong Fu a little wary. Ning Shu didn't forget that the Gong family had armed forces. Chapter 1552. When Ning Shu arrived at the shopping mall, he called Gong Fu and told her the location of the shopping mall. He also told her the method of exchange. Gong Rong looked at the people coming and going in the shopping mall. She had a complicated expression on her face. Why did you come to my shopping mall? If something happens in the shopping mall, the one who loses is naturally your shopping mall. This shopping mall was under the Gong family's name. If there was a gunfight, the one who loses is also the Gong family. In their own territory, they must have a lot of concerns. Gong Rong suddenly smiled. Actually, you can be considered a talent. Why do you use this kind of evil method so smoothly? Ning Shu smiled and said, Thank you for the compliment. Our Gong family can still afford to lose. Gong Rong said proudly. Ning Shu stretched out his index finger and waved it. No, after you were kidnapped, after you went out with me, your sister was appointed to take charge of the group. There will definitely be people in the group who will not accept her. If she makes any mistake, she will be caught and not let go. Your sister doesn't dare. Ning Shu leisurely sat on the bench. If you didn't travel around the world with me, your plan would be to slowly push your sister to the position of the group's controller, using the rest of his life to create a strong position for his sister. But plans can't keep up with changes. Su Xin, who participated in the game, sacrificed her soul. Ning Shu wanted to complete the task as much as possible. The client's mother was the biggest part of this task. Even if the other parts were completed, the completion rate was at most 50%. It was still considered a failure. Ning Shu did so much for the client's mother. Gong Rong squinted her eyes, covering the ripples in her eyes. She quietly sat beside Ning Shu. The two of them didn't speak. The atmosphere was calm. It couldn't be said to be serious or relaxed. Ning Shu suddenly asked, Why do you always dress as a woman? Is it because of your illness? Gong Rong indifferently grunted in acknowledgement. Ning Shu looked at his watch. It was already 8:30. What was this guy doing? Ning Shu said in advance not to call the police. Otherwise, he would detonate the bomb hidden in the shopping mall. Bombs and such were purely for the sake of scaring people. Gong Fu arrived late. She was dressed neatly and looked very imposing. There were several tall and strong men behind her. Ning Shu scanned them with his spiritual power and found that they had guns at their waists. 2 men were driving a pale-faced woman. Ning Shu recognized that this was the face in his memory and immediately used his spiritual force to penetrate the skin of the client's mother to see her illness. Su Xian's mother's 2 kidneys were yellow in color. The color was mottled, and they looked like stones instead of flesh. Ning Shu stood up and waved his hand. Here, even Gong Rong couldn't help but twitch her mouth. Did this look like a hostage exchange? It was as if she was waiting for her best friend to go shopping. Gong Fu was the first to see her brother. Her beautiful hair had been shaved, causing Gong Fu to frown uncontrollably. She looked at Ning Shu with an unfriendly gaze. Gong Fu walked over, and Ning Shu pulled Gong Rong to greet her. Your person is intact. Ning Shu pushed Gong Rong to Gong Fu, and then took Su Xian's mother from the two tall and strong bodyguards. Ning Shu supported Su Xian's mother. Her face was pale. Ning Shu forced a smile. Ning Shu crouched down and carried Su Xian's mother on his back. He saw a flash of light and a knife stabbed at her. Ning Shu dodged the knife and took out something with a button. If she pressed the button, the mall would explode. Gong Fu's face changed. She gritted her teeth and said, "Let her go." Ning Shu carried Su Xian's mother on his back and ran quickly. He gathered Qi in his dantian and reached a taxi parked on the side of the road. Ning Shu quickly put Su Xian's mother in the taxi. Then he closed the door. "Su Xian, save me?" Gong Rong ran quickly to Ning Shu's side. Ning Shu quickly said, "Driver, drive." "He's calling you?" the driver asked in confusion. Ning Shu's face was cold. "I don't know him." Gong Rong ran quickly, but his body trembled as if he had been shot. Someone must have installed a silencer and wanted to kill Gong Rong. But what did this have to do with her? "Su Xian, damn woman, save me." Gong Rong held his arm and chased after the car. Ning Shu said calmly, "Driver, we're in a hurry. Please hurry." "Didn't you hear someone calling you?" the driver asked hesitantly. Ning Shu shook his head. "You're hallucinating. I didn't hear anything." The driver looked at Ning Shu's righteous face through the rearview mirror and was speechless. The driver stepped on the accelerator and sped up. Soon he lost Gong Rong. Gong Rong was speechless. "Fuck, this woman is so cruel." Gong Rong was dizzy. Blood flowed from his fingers, and he could only keep running. Suddenly, a hand reached out and pulled him over, covering his mouth with the other hand. Gong Rong's heart was pounding in his heart. Ning Shu released his mental power to see if there was any tracking device on Gong Rong. Then he carried Gong Rong and ran quickly. Gong Rong, whose head was facing down, was speechless. He was about to run out of blood after this torment. Ning Shu arrived at a small hotel. This hotel was very remote. Unlike the previous one, there weren't even any street lights around. Ning Shu entered the room. Mother Su was sitting on the bed. Seeing Ning Shu come back, she was relieved and quickly closed the door. Ning Shu violently threw Gong Rong onto the bed, which happened to fall on her injured arm. Gong Rong was in so much pain that she almost howled in pain. "Be gentle." Gong Rong's skin was so good that even Mother Su felt sorry for him. Ning Shu went downstairs to buy some medical supplies. He was going to remove the bullet from Gong Rong's arm. Gong Rong was weak to begin with. When Ning Shu came back from shopping, Gong Rong was already unconscious. His face was pale. Mother Su asked, "Is he okay?" Well, girls like to lie to themselves. How could he be okay after losing so much blood? Ning Shu tore up the bed sheets and tied Gong Rong up to prevent him from struggling. Then he took off the socks on his feet and stuffed them into Gong Rong's mouth. It was going to hurt, so he didn't want to scream. Mother Su was speechless. Her child. Ning Shu disinfected the syringe with alcohol and released his mental power to check Gong Rong's arm. Mental power was really a good thing. "Mom, help me press his arm," Ning Shu said to Mother Su. Mother Su was a little weak. "Xin, let's take him to the hospital." Ning Shu smiled. "Mom, trust me. It's okay." Ning Shu accurately found the bullet's location and put a clip into Gong Rong's bullet hole. Gong Rong woke up from the pain when he touched the wound. He struggled with all his might, sweating profusely. The veins on his face and neck were bulging. He looked terrifying. Ning Shu clamped the bullet and took it out. Chapter 1553. Ning Shu took the bullet out of Gong Rong in a very rough way. He didn't use any anesthetic. He stuck a clip into the flesh and took out the bullet. Gong Rong passed out from the pain. Ning Shu put the bullet on the bedside table. Ning Shu wrapped Gong Rong's arm with gauze. Mrs. Su saw the bullet and trembled. "Who is he? How did he get shot?" Ordinary people were afraid of trouble, especially with guns. Ning Shu wiped the blood from the wound. "I don't know him. He seems to be a rich man." Mrs. Su looked at Ning Shu. "Why did you pick up your hair and dress up like a boy?" I just wanted to change my style. I think it's more refreshing this way. It wasn't something that could be explained in a few sentences. It was better not to let Mrs. Su know. Mrs. Su's face turned even paler. Ning Shu reached out and rubbed the acupuncture points on Mrs. Su's waist. Kidney disease was most likely due to insufficient kidney energy. Mrs. Su didn't look very pretty. She was overworked and had fine lines under her eyes. Her skin was sallow and haggard. There was no money for a kidney transplant for Mrs. Su. Besides, Mrs. Su was discharged halfway. Even if there was money, it wouldn't be her turn. Ning Shu rubbed Mrs. Su's waist. Mrs. Su felt her waist was warm and comfortable. As he rubbed, she fell asleep on the other bed. Ning Shu injected a little bit of spirit energy into Mrs. Su. Because she had only cultivated a little bit of spirit energy. There was too little spirit energy in the modern world. He hoped that this bit of spirit energy would be enough to support Mrs. Su's body. Ning Shu crushed Ning Shu's anti-inflammatory medicine into powder and mixed it in warm water for Gong Rong to drink. After that, every once in a while, he would feel that he had a fever. If he had a fever, Ning Shu could only send him to the hospital. The 4-drip didn't work. Ning Shu couldn't wait to mock Gong Rong. He mocked Gong Rong for wasting his time. Along the way, Gong Rong had a fever a few times. Ning Shu fed him medicine and anti-inflammatory medicine whenever he had a fever. Occasionally, Mother Su would ask Ning Shu to wipe Gong Rong's body to make him feel better. It was mainly because Mrs. Su felt that a young man lying on the bed was quite pitiful, especially such a handsome young man. Ning Shu did as he was told, because the smell of Gong Rong's sweat was really pungent. Not for Gong Rong, but for the living environment. Gong Rong slept for 2 days before she woke up. She felt something in her mouth and an indescribable smell lingered at the tip of her nose. It was also a little salty. When Gong Rong was unconscious, Ning Shu did not take off his socks. Mother Su wanted to take it off, but Ning Shu said, "Don't. If she wakes up and can't take the pain, she'll bite her tongue." Every time Ning Shu fed her the medicine, she would stuff it in his mouth again. Besides, her socks were not dirty. Mother Su took after her daughter. After all, her daughter was a university student and had read more books than her. So, Gong Rong woke up with something in her mouth. Ning Shu stood by the bed and looked down at Gong Rong. Gong Rong stared straight at Ning Shu with an indifferent expression. Ning Shu was speechless. What kind of scene was this? It was as if hugging her thigh and thanking her for saving his life was the right way to open up at this moment. Ning Shu also stared at Gong Rong. Gong Rong was speechless. Why didn't you take the thing out of her mouth? Her mouth was full, and she couldn't even move her tongue. Ning Shu was very unhappy that he had run back to save such a person. Ning Shu took the sock out of Gong Rong's mouth and the first thing he said was, "Is this a rag?" Ning Shu shook his head, and Gong Rong's expression relaxed. Ning Shu said, "This is a sock." Gong Rong's face turned even paler. Her eyes rolled back and she almost fainted. Ning Shu sat down and punched Gong Rong's chest. "Don't faint. I have something to tell you." Gong Rong's ribs seemed to have broken after being punched by Ning Shu. Gong Rong really didn't faint this time, but she had lost too much blood. Her face was so pale that it was almost transparent. "While my mother is out, let's talk about the reward for saving your life. I believe that your life should be worth a lot," Ning Shu said with a smile. Did she really think that she would save Gong Rong if she ate too much? She needed money for Mother Su's surgery. After the surgery, she still had to take medicine. It was not a small expense. At the very most, the client was only 22 years old and hadn't even graduated from university. Now that she urgently needed to solve the problem of money, did she really think that she would sacrifice herself for others? Gong Rong asked weakly, "You saved me for money?" Ning Shu looked at her from the corner of her eyes. "Why else do you think? Is it because of our friendship? Don't forget, you're an upper-class person, and I'm a lower-class person. What friendship can there be between us?" Gong Rong asked, "How much? How much do you think your life is worth?" Ning Shu kicked the ball to Gong Rong. Gong Rong asked again, "How long have I been unconscious?" 2 days and 3 nights. "I served you," Ning Shu said. Gong Rong looked at her bandaged arm and sighed faintly. I might not be able to give you the money. My black card might have been frozen. Ning Shu. Fuck, why are your shooting skills so bad? Why didn't I hit your head directly? Ning Shu immediately turned hostile. Gong Rong's eyelids twitched. Actually, I'm also someone with private property. So? Ning Shu tilted his head and looked at her indifferently. Even if it's for your sister, you should be generous and die. Why are you running away? Ning Shu sneered. Gong Rong's face was deathly pale. Even her lips were pale and dry. Ning Shu turned a blind eye to it. Gong Rong suddenly smiled. Fu did very well. She could even kill me, not to mention others. This is the only way to protect the SR group and survive among the pack of wolves and tigers. Ning Shu applauded. She was the world's best brother. Ning Shu was gloating. It was probably because Gong Rong's appearance as a man gave Gong Fu too much pressure. In addition, she had just taken control of the group not long ago. At this time, Gong Rong went back as a man. It would definitely be very disadvantageous for Gong Fu, who had just taken control of the group. Can you get me some water? I'm too thirsty. Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu. Gong Rong now was really pitiful and exceptionally pitiful. You have no value at all now. You're a piece of trash. I won't give you any water, Ning Shu said coldly. Strictly speaking, she and Gong Rong were on opposite sides of the spectrum. This matter was not over yet. In the future, she might be dragged into this accident. Ning Shu glanced at Gong Rong. Previously, when these siblings were deeply in love, she was unlucky. Now that the siblings had fallen out, she was very likely to be the scapegoat. Ning Shu's gaze on Gong Rong became more and more unfriendly. Gong Rong couldn't help but move her body. However, the moment she moved, her arm hurt. Gong Rong was in so much pain that her face turned pale. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. I won't do anything to you." Chapter 1554. Gong Rong felt that this woman was not like other women. She was compassionate, sentimental, and resolute in doing things. She was resolute, or stubborn, but she also looked unrestrained, more carefree than other women. She was not a woman that ordinary men could control. Gong Rong had no doubt that this woman would throw him out of the window. Gong Rong said helplessly, "If you need money, I can give you money." Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. "I don't see any money." "When I recover, I'll give you the change," Gong Rong said. "I'm a businessman. I still have this bit of integrity." Ning Shu tooted. "It's because you're a businessman that I don't believe you. I don't believe a word of a capitalist." Ning Shu said coldly, "Gong Rong, don't challenge my bottom line. Maybe I'll get some benefits if I hand you over to Gong Fu." Gong Rong was speechless. This girl should have some integrity. She definitely wouldn't get any benefits. Gong Rong was relieved to hear Ning Shu's words. This girl didn't look stupid. She definitely wouldn't do such a suicidal thing. With a click, the door handle turned. Mother Su came back. Her mental strength looked much better. Mother Su was carrying a snack box. Seeing that Gong Rong was awake, she immediately said, "You're awake." Gong Rong replied weakly, "Hello, Auntie." "Oh, your lips are dry. Pour him a glass of water," Mother Su said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't say anything. He poured a glass of water from the pot and fed it to Gong Rong. Gong Rong's eyes shone brightly. He looked very smug. Mother Su put the food on the small table and asked Gong Rong, who was lying on the bed, "Are you okay? I think you should go to the hospital. After all, you're so badly injured." She was implying that Gong Rong should leave. Gong Rong's expression stiffened. He said, "My parents are abroad. There's no one to help me with anything at the hospital." How could Gong Luo appear at the hospital openly? Now that he was being hunted by Gong Fu, even if he had to die, he couldn't have anything to do with Gong Fu. As long as he did it, there would be traces. Gong Rong didn't want to die in Gong Fu's hands. If someone found out, his death could be used against Gong Fu. Su Xen was a good target, if he died in Su Xian's hands. Ning Shu turned around and met Gong Rong's eyes. His eyes were clear as he stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu walked to the bedside and placed his hand on Gong Rong's arm. With a slight pressure, Gong Rong's face turned even paler and trembled. "You'd better not play any tricks with me. Even if you do, you'll be making a loss," Ning Shu said coldly. Gong Rong forced a smile. "I'm already in this state. What can I scheme? You think too badly of me. It's not that I think of you as a bad person, but you are a bad person to begin with." Ning Shu poked Gong Rong's wound with his finger. Blood gushed out of the wound. Ning Shu exclaimed, "You're bleeding. I'll change the gauze for you." Gong Rong, Ning Shu cut the bloody gauze. It was difficult to heal a bullet wound, especially in Gong Rong's condition. "Let's eat when you're done," Mother Su said. Mother Su let Ning Shu eat while she fed Gong Rong. Gong Rong was good-looking and called her auntie softly. Even though Mother Su felt that this man was not simple, she still grinned. After eating, Gong Rong fell asleep. It was not easy for him to hold on until now. Seeing that Gong Rong had fallen asleep, Mother Su said to Ning Shu, who was cleaning up the small table, "Although this child is good-looking, he was shot. You should send him to the hospital. I hope you can find an ordinary person. He's not suitable." Mother Su did not forget that this man had called her daughter's name in the taxi. It meant that the two of them knew each other. Ning Shu really admired Mother Su's imagination. "She and Gong Rong?" Ning Shu nodded and said, "Don't worry. There's nothing going on between me and him." The two of them were scheming against each other, and then they looked happy on the surface. "Mom, let me give you a massage," Ning Shu said to Mother Su, changing the topic. What did it have to do with Gong Rong? If it did, it would be creepy. At most, it was a hostage. Ning Shu rubbed his hands, making his palms and fingers hot. Then he massaged Mother Su's acupuncture points. Mother Su lay on the bed and said, Xin, it's very comfortable. I feel much better. Then I'll massage you every day." Mother Su fell asleep. Ning Shu covered her with the quilt, then turned on the TV to watch the news and lowered the volume. Since Gong Fu wanted to kill Gong Rong, then there should be news. SR Group held a press conference. Gong Fu held back her tears and said that her sister had been killed by the kidnapper. Now the kidnapper was on the run. She hoped that the kidnapper and murderer could be arrested as soon as possible. Ning Shu's picture was also shown, and he looked like a short-haired boy. Then it was announced that Gong Fu was officially in charge of SR Group. She would inherit the management of SR Group from her sister and bring SR Group to greater heights. Ning Shu. She had indeed become the scapegoat. She knew that Gong Rong's death would be blamed on her. Ning Shu stared at Gong Fu on the TV. She was beautiful, cold, and elite. Just like her brother, she was a scheming person. Ning Shu turned around and saw that Gong Rong had woken up and was watching TV. Ning Shu sneered. Gong Rong said, "You shouldn't have kidnapped me. Then there wouldn't have been such a chain reaction." Ning Shu snorted. If she hadn't escaped, she would have killed all the people on the island. She would have been the winner of the game with 19 lives. In order to get 10 million, she had killed all the other contestants. It was reasonable and crazy. She would have to face the judicial power of a country. Go to hell. Go to hell. Comparing 19 lives to Gong Rong's single life, he felt that kidnapping Gong Rong was the better choice. Come on, let's hurt each other. It was not certain who would win or lose until the last moment. You siblings are really interesting, Ning Shu said to Gong Rong calmly. Gong Rong pursed her lips. This is the best way to deal with it. Damn you. Ning Shu took off his shoe and smashed it on Gong Rong's arm. Gong Rong's wound was bleeding again. The best way. Ning Shu looked at him coldly. I went from a kidnapper to a kidnapper and murderer. I am wanted by the country. This is the best way for you to deal with it. And my mother? She was sick, but she still had to watch me go to prison. This pair of siblings were like this. As long as they achieved their goal, it was fine. They never cared about others. After all, they were all inferior people. Chapter 1555. They were at the top of the food chain. Gong Rong was silent. Mother Su's eyelashes fluttered, and she was about to wake up. Ning Shu quickly turned off the TV. She didn't want Mother Su to know. She knew that it wouldn't do her any good. Instead, it made her anxious. The daughter she was so proud of had become a murderer. Mother Su opened her eyes and saw Ning Shu's cold face. She asked, "What's wrong?" Ning Shu smiled and shook her head. "Nothing. We've been out for a while. Let's go home. I feel much better. Don't waste money on hospitalization." Ning Shu immediately said, "We can't go back." "What's wrong?" Mother Su was surprised. Why couldn't they go home? Ning Shu said, "Let's stay here for a while. Besides, there's a patient. There must be police around their house." Ning Shu didn't want to be caught by the police. If that happened, it would really be a disaster. Even if she was wronged, so what? Something could happen at any time in there. There was too much room for manipulation. Not everyone could be cleared of wrongdoing. Gong Fu killed so many people. Although she didn't do it herself, she was the one who guided them. What's wrong with her isn't she? That was the difference. "It's okay. We can take him home." Mother Su wanted to say take Gong Rong home, but Ning Shu interrupted her. Ning Shu rolled her eyes and thought of an excuse. "Mom, come out with me." Mother Su looked at her daughter's strange behavior with some confusion. Ning Shu closed the door, and only Gong Rong was left in the room. Ning Shu said to Mother Su, "Mom, we can't let a wolf into our house. Look, that person was shot. It means that he was being chased. If we take him to our house, those people will definitely go after him. Knives and swords have no eyes. What if they hurt us?" Mother Su looked a little scared and nodded. Yes, we can't go home now." Ning Shu breathed a sigh of relief. She felt so tired. He didn't know how long he could keep this a secret. "We won't go home until he's gone." Mother Su grabbed Ning Shu's arm tightly. "You have to be careful." Ning Shu nodded and pushed the door open. Gong Rong glanced at Ning Shu but didn't say anything. At night, Gong Rong had a fever again, and his wound was festering. Ning Shu rudely rubbed disinfectant on Gong Rong's arm and gave him water and medicine. After that, Ning Shu gave Mother Su a massage. Mother Su realized that after being massaged by her daughter, she could sleep better at night and her body felt more comfortable. Ning Shu stayed by Gong Rong's side. Even if Gong Rong had to die, she couldn't die here. She wasn't going to take the blame. Moreover, Gong Rong would always return to SR Group. Even if you have to die in front of everyone at your job. Ning Shu released his spiritual power to check the condition of Gong Rong's internal organs. He seemed to have aged a little. The color of his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys weren't bright red, but dark. Moreover, Gong Rong had cirrhosis of the liver. His body couldn't hold on much longer. Especially this injury, it made Gong Rong's situation even worse. Ning Shu coldly withdrew his spiritual power. Gong Rong probably wore women's clothes for his sister. As the heir of a group, it was known that he was sick and couldn't die of old age. It would have been better to say that it was a girl from the beginning. With Gong Rong as a precedent, there would be less resistance for Gong Fu to inherit the group. Ning Shu curled his lips. He didn't sympathize with Gong Rong at all. Her current situation was very miserable. She didn't have any extra sympathy for the person who caused her to be in this state. The Gong family only had 2 daughters, Gong Rong and Gong Fu. However, there were other uncles and cousins in the Gong family who were eyeing them covetously. Ning Shu curled his lips. Money could make you into a special class, but what if you died? After a night of torment, Gong Rong's fever finally subsided. There was a sickly red on his pale face. When Gong Rong woke up, she looked uncomfortable. Ning Shu poured some water for Gong Rong to drink. Gong Rong drank the water from the spoon and looked at Ning Shu. "Didn't you hate me? Why, I still served you, right?" Ning Shu continued. "That was because I wanted to see you in pain." Gong Rong nodded. "Why?" "Because I was afraid of being charged with murder. You can play with people and kill people without restraint, but I can't." Ning Shu said indifferently. He scooped another spoonful of warm water and fed it to Gong Rong. Kidnapper and murderer. These stains have always been on my record. Are you very proud that I can't do anything to you? Ning Shu asked calmly. Gong Rong narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything. You're not going back to the Gong family? Ning Shu asked. Gong Rong shook her head. I'm already a dead person. I won't cause trouble for Fu. Ning Shu splashed the water from the cup on Gong Rong's face. Gong Rong was stunned. Ning Shu put down the cup and wiped Gong Rong's face with a tissue. He said calmly, "You make me very angry." Gong Rong was speechless. He had never seen such a temperamental woman. He could never guess what she was going to do next. Do you still want water? Ning Shu asked. Gong Rong shook her head. In the end, Mother Su found out about Ning Shu. After all, Mother Su went out to buy things and saw a wanted poster. It was easy for her to find out. Mother Su's expression was unsightly. When she came back, she grabbed Ning Shu's hand. How could you do such a thing? What should I do? Oh my God! Mother Su collapsed on the ground. No wonder her daughter always told her to be careful. She thought it was because of the injured man. So it was because of this. Ning Shu reached out and helped Mother Su up from the ground. Mother Su hit Ning Shu with her hand. How could you do this? How did I teach you? Mother Su's fist didn't hit Ning Shu hard, but she broke down emotionally. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. He hugged Mother Su and put his hand on her back to inject some spiritual energy. There was no more spiritual energy in her dantian. There was only the power of the sun flame left. The power of the sun flame was destructive and had no effect on nourishing the body. Mother Su held back her tears for a while and calmed down. Wiping her tears, Ning Shu asked, "What happened?" Ning Shu glanced at Gong Rong and told her everything. He told her everything, including participating in the adventure game for 10 million and kidnapping Gong Rong. Ning Shu's mouth was dry. He drank some water to moisten his throat. That's what happened. Mother Su's eyes widened and she murmured, "How could there be such an animal in the world? The Gongs are all animals." Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong and curled her lips, saying, "Isn't he a beast?" Chapter 1556. Gong Rong, who was called a bastard, didn't change his expression, as if they weren't talking about him. And Mother Su didn't know that the bastard was right in front of her. Mother Su grabbed Ning Shu's hand tightly. Then did you kill someone from the Gong family? Ning Shu sneered. Rich families are fighting, and they're pushing the crime of murder to me. I didn't kill anyone. Mother Su took a deep breath. I knew you wouldn't kill anyone. Go and tell them you didn't kill anyone. Mom, don't worry. I'll find a way. Ning Shu comforted Mother Su. She was going around saying that she was innocent and wasn't a murderer. It was useless. She was walking right into a trap. What she wanted was for Gong Rong to appear in front of the public. Mother Su was too naive. This kind of thing couldn't be explained easily, especially when there were so many people holding you down and forcing you to eat shit. You couldn't beat them. 2 fists couldn't beat 4 hands. Mother Su was worried. Ning Shu said calmly, "Mom, don't worry. I'll be fine. I have a way." Even though Ning Shu promised again and again, Mother Su was still very worried. Mother Su calmed down a little and then remembered that there was someone else in the room. She said to Gong Rong, "Look, my daughter is in trouble. Why don't you leave? The environment here isn't good for recovery." "Auntie, it's okay. I didn't hear anything. I won't tell anyone." Gong Rong said firmly, "Besides, you saved me." Mother Su smiled reluctantly. Because of her worry, Mother Su's health wasn't very good. Ning Shu sighed. He took something sharp to stimulate her acupuncture points and massaged her every day. Ning Shu said to Gong Rong, "You said you'll give me money. Where is it?" "I'll definitely give it to you when I'm better," Gong Rong said. "Don't use this method to brush me off," Ning Shu said coldly. Gong Rong said coldly, "Don't look at me with such resentful eyes. You're the one who joined the game for money. I'm a bastard. This face of yours is called the crusade of the weak, powerless and pale." Ning Shu chuckled. "One day, you will also feel the pain of powerlessness. Gong Rong only smiled faintly. Because of Ning Shu, Mother Su rarely went out, so she bought some things and put them in the house. With nothing to do, Ning Shu watched TV. Anyway, Mother Su already knew. He switched to a financial channel that was broadcasting the news. In the picture, a woman was lying on a stretcher and being sent to an ambulance. This woman's face was captured. It was Gong Fu. Gong Rong, who was sitting on the bed, shuddered and stared at the TV. Gong Rong's pale face turned even paler. Her body seemed to have been struck by lightning and was fixed in place. Some reporters reported that the person in charge of SR Group had suddenly vomited blood and fainted during a meeting. The corners of Ning Shu's lips curled up. Finally, it was time. He didn't believe that Gong Rong would be able to sit still. Gong Rong closed her eyes and stabilized her emotions. In fact, Gong Rong had some suspicions that this was Gong Fu's act to lure her out. If that was the case, Gong Rong decided to wait and see. Gong Rong felt that Gong Fu had made a stupid move. Wasn't doing such a thing giving others something to use against her? Maybe she would use the excuse of her poor health to seize power. When she came back, she would probably be a figurehead. How could Gong Fu be so stupid? The more Gong Rong thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. Every day, she waited for new news. In the end, the news came out that Gong Fu's kidney had ruptured and her internal organs had been damaged to a certain extent. A notice of critical illness had been issued. When Gong Rong saw the news, it was as if she had been struck by lightning. She lifted the quilt and ran away. Obviously, she was going back to SR Group. Ning Shu had said that Gong Rong would definitely go back. Seeing Gong Rong run away in a hurry, Mother Du asked, "What's wrong with her?" "She must have something to do and left first." Ning Shu smiled and turned off the TV. "Mom, we have to change places too," Ning Shu said to Mother Su. Mother Su quickly took out women's clothes, a wig, and some makeup tools from her bag. Ning Shu changed into the clothes, put on the wig, and put on some makeup for himself. Then she and Mother Su left the small hotel and stayed there for nearly half a month. "Xin, where are we going now?" They couldn't go home. The police were still looking for Xin. Her daughter was already at a good age, but because of her illness, she had to go down this path. Mother Su was in pain. She even wanted to die so that she wouldn't be a burden to her daughter. Ning Shu found a suburb this time, a very remote place. Anyway, they would hide here and there for a while. If they really couldn't do it, they would live in the sewers. Ning Shu was not afraid, but he was afraid that Mother Su's body wouldn't be able to take it. Gong Rong returned to the Gong family in women's clothes. People who saw him thought that he was a zombie. Gong Rong had to come back. He had to come back to stabilize SR Group. Gong Rong's appearance shocked many people. After all, his sister had said that she had been killed. Gong Rong's face was pale, without a trace of blood. No one knew about the injury on his arm. He went to the hospital to see Gong Fu. Gong Fu was lying on the bed. She looked almost dead. Gong Rong didn't understand. How could a healthy little girl vomit blood? It was just a board meeting. A few shareholders didn't agree with her proposal. How could she vomit blood just like that? The doctor's explanation was that she was under too much pressure. Anyway, her body's illness couldn't be explained. It was caused by too much pressure. He had already paved the way for Gong Fu to lie flat. He didn't expect Gong Fu to fall like this. She might die because her kidney was ruptured. She had already undergone surgery. It was just a matter of whether she could survive. Gong Rong looked tired. With the injuries on his body, his pale face turned gray. Gong Rong's sudden appearance made the reporters very excited. They asked how Gong Rong came back alive. Wasn't he killed? Why did your sister say that you were killed? Did your sister stop trying to save you? The questions these reporters asked were enough to write a TV series about the grudges of the rich. It was nothing more than the two sisters fighting for the SR Group. Even Gong Rong's kidnapping was questioned. No matter what Gong Rong said, whether she was kidnapped or not, it was a slap in the face to Gong Fu, who was lying on the bed. If she wasn't kidnapped, why did you make such a big fuss? She was kidnapped. Your sister wasn't dead yet. You said that your sister was killed. Either this kidnapping had other meanings. Therefore, the unconscious Gong Rong was in trouble. Gong Rong looked straight ahead as if he was looking at someone through the void. He said in a woman's voice, "I was kidnapped." In front of the TV, Ning Shu and Gong Rong's eyes met. He smiled faintly. "I'm such a good kidnapper. I let you escape." Chapter 1557. Ning Shu stared at Gong Rong, who was facing the camera. Gong Rong was dressed in women's clothing and looked beautiful. Her red lips slowly spat out, "I've been kidnapped." Ning Shu was not surprised at all. Gong Rong could only say that she was kidnapped. This was the best for Gong Fu, who was on the hospital bed. Gong Rong's face was pale and transparent. She said to the camera, "Gong Fu thinks that I've been killed." There was a period of time when the kidnappers didn't contact her at all. She thought that I might have been killed. Gong Rong tried her best to get Gong Fu out of this matter. Ning Shu couldn't help but applaud. Gong Rong was really a good brother. Being chased by his sister, he didn't complain at all. He probably wanted to wait for his sister to wake up and let her take over the company. It was good to spoil his sister. Or he was about to die and realized that there was nothing to be calculative about with his sister. On the contrary, he was gratified that his sister could even kill her closest brother. She would definitely be able to protect the SR group. The family's interests were paramount. "Then who kidnapped you? How did you escape?" Gong Rong said, "Someone helped me." "Was the college student Su Xen the one who kidnapped you?" It was impossible for a college student to kidnap someone from the Gong family. "Did the bodyguards of the Gong family eat shit?" Gong Rong said lightly, "No comment." Ning Shu in front of the TV. Damn, Ning Shu really wanted to smash the TV. Let him say that she wasn't the one who kidnapped him. This, "no comment," really made people's imagination run wild. Ning Shu sneered. Gong Rong really couldn't take any losses. Gong Rong got into the car under the protection of the bodyguards. Some reporters chased after the car. Ning Shu saw Gong Rong's face from the TV. Even if he didn't use his mental strength to scan Gong Rong's internal organs, he could see that Gong Rong's body couldn't hold on much longer. His eyebrows were faintly blue. Ning Shu went to the internet cafe to look for information about the adventure game. The final winner of the adventure game should have been announced by now. With such a tragic murder, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. A month had already passed, but there was still no news. Perhaps it was because she had kidnapped Gong Rong, which made things more complicated. Gong Fu directly let this matter end quietly. Then the people on the island might all be dead. Ning Shu chuckled. He didn't know why the other 19 people, no, 18 people's family members didn't make a fuss. Could it be that the other family members did not know that their own family members had gone to participate in the show? If a murderer came forward, all the family members would have a target to vent their anger on, and that was the inhumane murderer. Ning Shu was still wondering if he could use this as an opening to attack the Gong family. It was fine if some things were not exposed, but if they were exposed, it would not be so easy to solve. If she were to reveal what happened on the island, Gong Rong would first suspect her and the little black girl. Forget about the little black girl, she was so innocent. Gong Rong would not suspect the little black girl. She still had the kidnapper's cap on her head, so she couldn't be impulsive. Ning Shu propped up his chin and tapped the table with his finger. She was waiting for Gong Fu to die. Gong Rong had schemed for so long, but it was all for naught. Ning Shu called the family members who participated in the show. "Your family members have been missing for almost 2 months. Don't you have any suspicions?" Some family members said that they went to do the show and would only be back after some time. Ning Shu said directly, "The adventure survival game only lasts for a month. My child is not back yet. I don't know what's going on. I've already called the police, but the police did not respond. I also don't know where they are recording the show. I'm so anxious. I have nightmares every night. I dream that my child is drenched in blood." Ning Shu used an old, anxious, and uncomfortable voice, which made the listeners feel uneasy as well. Ning Shu called the family members one by one. A few family members called the police. Their child had not appeared for so long. Could it be that he had been kidnapped? They even went to the TV station to make a fuss. The TV station could only say that it was fine. The family members were even more anxious and said, "Then let them call me. I don't feel at ease if I don't hear my son's voice." The staff of the TV station were at a loss. They were only in charge of recruiting people. They did not care about anything else. Where could they find people now? They are doing a closed recording. When the recording is done, they will naturally contact you. The TV station's evasive actions made people feel uneasy. There were always family members who went to the police station and the TV station to make a fuss. There were also many people who posted on the internet, asking where these people had gone. It had already been 2 months. The show had not been released and the people had disappeared. It had already attracted a lot of attention. The TV station had no choice but to come to the SR group to find Gong Rong. "You took them away. Now you have to return them." Gong Rong rubbed her eyebrows and looked at the news fermenting on the internet. She said to the staff of the TV station, "I will deal with this matter." The family members were getting more and more anxious. When they were getting more and more uneasy, there was finally news. But it was bad news. The police posted on Weibo. The general content was that 10 million yuan was used as a reward. But they did not expect that the perverted doctor would be tempted by the 10 million yuan and commit murder. They also posted a few photos. There were housewives who had their breasts cut off, lawyers who had their necks cut off, and hooligans who had their knees cut off. Anyway, everyone had died a miserable death. Some people's bodies could not even be found. The explanation given by the police was that the nature of the matter was too bad. The police had been involved in the investigation for a long time and had not made it public. And that doctor was now locked up in prison. Ning Shu let out a long breath. This time, the doctor was the scapegoat. When the news came out, it caused a huge uproar. Everyone despised the doctor for being a beast with a human face. Even the doctor's family members were implicated. At this time, Gong Rong stood up and said to the camera, "The SR Group is also responsible for this matter. Originally, we wanted to sponsor and let the group's products sell better. That's why we used 10 million yuan to reward each contestant. But we did not expect that some people could not resist the temptation and did such a thing. From now on, I represent the SR Group to apologize to the public. In the future, we will not sponsor adventure shows. The 10 million yuan reward will be used to compensate the victims' families. In addition, we will add another 10 million yuan. After Gong Rong's statement, the TV station also expressed their attitude. They admitted that it was their fault. They did not monitor properly and chose such a ruthless person. Blah blah blah. Ning Shu could not help but applaud. They were so cunning. As for the TV station, they must have received benefits. They would not say that these people were chosen for Gong Rong and her sister. Chapter 1558. The police released the death list, and Su Xian's name was on the list. In other words, she was now dead, and her body hadn't even been found. She might have been killed and thrown into the sea to feed the fish. In the legal sense, she was dead. Ning Shu was now an illegal resident. Ning Shu sneered. "Mom, go get the pension too." "It's a waste not to take it," Ning Shu said to Mother Su. Mother Su shook her head. "I'm not going. I don't want SR Group's dirty money." Ning Shu was speechless. "Go get it. 20 million. Each family can get more than 1 million. You really don't want it?" With the money, Mother Su would have the money for the surgery. This was obviously Gong Rong's way of appeasing the family. This was actually a game of money. He probably wanted to teach his sister that money could do a lot of things. She had to learn how to use money to achieve her goals. 20 million was nothing to SR Group, but it could buy so many lives. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong on the TV with a pained and sincere expression. Who would think that this was the real murderer? But the doctor couldn't deny it. Did he kill anyone? As for how many he killed as many as he wanted. It was quite cruel. If she hadn't run away, she would be the one being despised now. Ning Shu cared more about her identity. She was now a nobody and had been killed. Gong Rong put her on the death list because he was afraid that she would make trouble again. If her kidnapping was involved, then the incident on the island would also be involved. However, the media wasn't a fool. They quickly connected Su Xin's name to the previous kidnapper, Su Xin. But the police refuted the rumors. They were not the same person. Su Xin had been killed by the doctor on the island. But there were many doubts. Some things weren't very clear. But they didn't dare to continue reporting. Although there was freedom of speech, the higher-ups were still very strict when it came to the media. Soon, the doctor's verdict came out amidst the angry scolding of the crowd. Because the nature of the case was too bad, and the family members were making trouble, the doctor was sentenced to death under the pressure of public opinion. At this time, no matter what the doctor said, things had already come to this. There was no room for negotiation. Soon, the doctor was shot, and the matter was over. Ning Shu thought that perhaps Gong Rong was drinking red wine and smiling. Ning Shu felt a chill in his heart. The power of money really couldn't be underestimated. This was also a kind of power. It was different from the power of lust. It could make people submit, and it could make people greedy. To a certain extent, money was a resource for survival. Mother Su went to collect the pension. When she came back, her eyes widened. So much money had suddenly fallen from the sky. But when she thought of what her daughter had gone through, Mother Su's eyes turned red. She would either be killed or become a psychopathic murderer. Looking at the well-dressed people who worked in SR Group, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Ning Shu did not care. He could perform the surgery as long as he got the money. "I'm just worried about my identity. I'm already dead," Ning Shu's mother said. Mrs. Su thought for a moment and said, "How about using your sister's name?" Ning Shu was very surprised. "I have a sister? Your sister died before she was a year old. She had cerebral palsy." Mother Su sighed. "Su-chan," Mother Su said, "I'll take you to get an ID card. Your sister has cerebral palsy and is a little stupid. You can live as Su-chan from now on." "But they don't know that I have a sister?" Ning Shu's mother asked. "Just say that you grew up in the countryside." Ning Shu's mother gave him a thumbs up. No matter what, he had to get an identity. She didn't know what Gong Rong was thinking. She put her name on the death list. Maybe she thought that it would be easier to deal with her as a dead person. She was the only one who escaped from the island. No, there was also a black girl. However, Xiao Heinyo didn't seem to know much. If Xiao Heinyo was smart enough, she wouldn't have said this. She didn't know if Gong Rong had sent someone to deal with the black girl. Mother Su took Ning Shu to get an ID card. Ning Shu had to pretend that he had cerebral palsy. He tilted his head and walked with a limp. His muscles weren't developed well, and he drooled. In order to have enough saliva, Ning Shu even ate a sour orange. It was so sour that his cheeks hurt. Fortunately, his sister's name was still on the household register. Ning Shu looked at the camera with a dull expression. Ning Shu felt bitter. The photo on the ID card was already ugly. Now he had to pretend to be stupid. He couldn't imagine what the photo on the ID card would look like. After the photo was taken, Ning Shu didn't bother to pretend to be stupid. The police guarding the door also left. Ning Shu and Mother Su could finally go home. But there were no police. There were other annoying people. And they were the client's relatives. Ning Shu looked at the family of 3 guarding the door. Yes, the client's father, his father's wife, and his son. Mother Su looked terrible when she saw her ex-husband. She asked, "What are you doing here?" When Father Su saw Ning Shu, he asked in surprise, "Aren't you dead?" Ning Shu asked, "Do you want me to die?" Mr. Su looked a little uncomfortable. He didn't dare to look at Ning Shu's expression, as if he had a guilty conscience. But his current wife smiled and said, "Xin, it's good that you're okay. Your father was worried about you." Ning Shu's face was cold. "Oh, thank you. What are you doing here?" Mother Su asked coldly. Father Su immediately said, "I'm here to see what's wrong with my daughter." Ning Shu thought for a moment and knew what the couple wanted to do. They probably watched TV and knew that Mother Su had hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in compensation. Flies swarmed over when they smelled blood. It had to be said that the charm of money was too great. Sometimes, family members had to give in the face of money. Some people's greed was infinitely magnified. Su Xin had gone to her father to borrow money to treat her mother's illness. She hadn't given him a single cent. Now that she was here, she probably wanted money. Ning Shu glanced at Father Su's wife. She must have instigated this. Li Shan couldn't help but feel cold when Ning Shu glanced at her. She forced a smile and held her son's hand. Qingqing, call her sister. The little boy was only 7 or 8 years old. He said directly, she's not my sister. Ning Shu didn't feel anything. There was no need to get angry over a stranger. Well, I don't think you're my brother either. My mother only gave birth to a sister. I don't have a brother. Li Shan looked embarrassed, but she still forced a smile and apologized to Ning Shu. She had to hold back because she wanted something. Li Shan touched her husband's back with her hand and tugged at the corner of his clothes. Chapter 1559. Su Xian's father looked a little troubled, but when he thought of the money and the fact that Su Xian was his daughter, he should have a share, so he spoke up. Xian is my daughter too, so the pension, what does the pension have to do with you? It's Xian's money. Su Xian's mother's expression was fierce. She was resentful and disgusted with her ex-husband. I'm her father, so I can have half of it. Su Xian's father decided to go all out. No matter what, Xian is my daughter. Su Xian's father said shamelessly. Su Xian's mother was furious. Have you done your duty as a father to Xian? Now you have the nerve to ask for money? Don't you have any shame? No one can take away my identity as Su Xian's father, Su Xian's father said firmly. Ning Shu opened the door, and the family swarmed into the house. Ning Shu picked up the landline and called the police. Someone broke into my house and wants to rob me. Yes, I have hundreds of thousands at home. Su Xian's father was speechless. You called the police? Su Xian's father looked at Ning Shu in disbelief. Ning Shu put down the phone. I did call the police. You and Mom have been divorced for more than 10 years, and I gave Mom the money. It's a little embarrassing for you to ask for money at this time. I'm your father. Su Xian's father was so angry that he was panting. Li Shan, Su Xian's stepmother, quickly said, Xian, your father has high blood pressure. You can't be angry. Don't argue with your father. Oh, you're using filial piety to pressure me? Ning Shu looked at Li Shan expressionlessly. This woman was much smarter than her father. Li Shan said, why call the police? It doesn't look good. No matter what, he's still your father. Ning Shu hated this kind of people the most. If you ran away immediately when something happened, then they would swarm over. If you said something, you would be unfilial and the moral shackles would be on you. Ning Shu said to Su Xian's mother, Mom, sit down and wait for the police. You really are a bad woman. Qingqing pointed at Ning Shu. Li Shan immediately said, Qingqing, how can you say that? Then she turned to Ning Shu and said apologetically, Qingqing is still young. It doesn't matter. I don't intend to forgive him. Ning Shu shrugged. So what if he's young? Li Shan's expression stiffened. She then said, Xin, we also know how you got your money. You're already dead. If you call the police, your identity will be exposed. Ning Shu could tell that Li Shan was threatening her and felt that she had grasped her weakness. Ning Shu was not afraid of her identity being exposed at all. Moreover, she was now Su Qin. Ning Shu was not afraid that she would spread the news. So, Ning Shu shrugged unmoved. Should I give you the money? This money is for my mother's surgery. You even want to snatch the money to save her life. Ning Shu looked at Li Shan. I know you're a beautiful, gentle, kind, and generous person, but you can't do such a thing. Li Shan was a person who was used to putting on a show. At this time, Ning Shu's words made her face turn red. Soon the police came. Ning Shu tilted her head and squinted her eyes. She looked like an idiot. She sat on the ground and shouted, they wanted to snatch my mother's money. My mother was the one who did the surgery. Wah wah wah, Everyone was speechless. The police ignored Ning Shu and asked Su Xian's mother, who was normal, about the situation. Su Xian's mother told them the story with a sneer. This family was greedy for someone else's dead money. Su Xian's father looked at Ning Shu, who was crying like a child on the ground, and was furious. My daughter is not dead. This is my eldest daughter, Su Xian. They lied to you and cheated you of your money. Su Xian's father spoke without thinking. Li Shan tugged at his clothes. The 3 members of the Su family were taken to the police station to record their statements. After all, they had filed a report. Su Xian's mother was also there. Ning Shu said, "Stay at home." As soon as they left, Ning Shu began to look for a place to rent online. He couldn't live here anymore. Today, it was his father's house. Tomorrow, it would be his mother's house. It would be his grandmother's uncles who would come to ask for money. All these years, Su Xian's mother had raised her client alone. These people didn't help her. Now that they had some money, they immediately flocked to her. It would be quieter to live somewhere else. When Su Xian's mother returned from the police station, Ning Shu had already packed his things. He said to Su Xian's mother, "I've found a place to live. Let's go look for rentals now." Su Xian's mother took a deep breath. Just as she was about to speak, Ning Shu interrupted her. "Don't think about giving me a little to solve the problem. If I give you once, I'll ask for a second time." He had something to do today. Tomorrow he would borrow some. "Mom, they can live without this money. If you don't have this money, you'll die. Keep it for the surgery," Ning Shu said to Su Xian's mother. Once the leeches saw blood, they would desperately suck it. Su Xian's mother pursed her lips and nodded. "I'll listen to you." Ning Shu carried 2 bags, went out, locked the door and left. Ning Shu went to Fang Jie. Fang Jie took Ning Shu to the house that Ning Shu had his eyes on. Although the house wasn't big, the lighting was good. After signing the contract, they moved in. Ning Shu felt that the most important thing was Su Xian's mother's illness. When he had nothing to do, Ning Shu would give her massages and acupuncture. Her illness was very serious. Medicine didn't work, and it would also burden her kidneys. Ning Shu could only massage her acupuncture points. Sometimes he would give her blood. These were just auxiliary treatments. They were only to prevent Su Xian's mother's condition from worsening. If she wanted to treat it, she could only do a kidney transplant. Ning Shu discussed with Su Xian's mother. "I can't go to university." Her sister, Su Qin, didn't go to school. She died before she was a year old. So she didn't even have a school record now. Su Xian's mother was open-minded. "It's fine if you don't have one. As long as you're safe, you'll find a way out." Ning Shu pursed his lips. She had to start a business to earn money. After all, a successful life was to change a difficult situation. If she succeeded in life, this success would be a little broad. Work could be done slowly. Life planning could wait until the Gong family's matter was resolved. Recently, Gong Rong rarely appeared in front of the screen. She rarely accepted interviews. Ning Shu didn't know how Gong Rong was doing. According to Ning Shu's estimation, Gong Rong's body shouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. But there was no news at all. And there was no news of Gong Fu. Was Gong Fu fine? Or did something happen to Gong Fu but it was kept secret? Ning Shu felt that Gong Fu shouldn't be able to survive. After all, the power of the sun would destroy a person's internal organs and slowly burn them. Gong Fu's life was at stake. Ning Shu paid attention to the news on the finance channel every day. When he had nothing to do, he would check the web to find out about Esser Group. Gong Rong could buy so many people's lives with money, but he didn't know if she could buy her sister's life. Chapter 1560. Ning Shu waited for a while, but there was still no news of Gong Fu's death. Could it be that Gong Fu had been saved? Could it be that there was still a hidden master in this world, an immortal or something? Ning Shu felt that it was unlikely. After all, it was the end of the world. There was pitifully little spirit energy. How could there be an immortal? Gong Rong sat on a bench in the hospital corridor with his head in his hands. This was the 4th time the doctor gave him a notice of critical illness. From beginning to end, his sister didn't wake up and didn't open her eyes to look at him. The doctor said that Gong Fu couldn't hold on anymore. The current Gong Fu, if you pressed her abdomen slightly, blood would come out of her mouth. Her internal organs were seriously damaged. Now she was hanging on by one breath. Her heartbeat was weak and she could die at any time. Gong Rong couldn't understand. His sister was healthy. How could her body deteriorate so badly? Gong Rong stood up. His body swayed and he almost fell to the ground. Gong Rong's secretary quickly supported him. "Miss Gong, the patient has passed away." A doctor in a white coat came out and said to him. Gong Rong covered his eyes and walked into the ward with weak steps. Gong Fu on the bed was covered by a white cloth. Gong Rong took a deep breath and removed the white cloth. He saw Gong Fu's ashen face. Gong Rong closed his eyes and covered the white cloth. He was supposed to die. But how could Gong Fu die in front of him? Then all the things he did for Gong Fu while pretending to be a girl since he was young were all in vain. His aging disease was discovered when he was young. After all these years of careful care, living until now was already the limit. Managing the group as a woman was for Gong Fu. Gong Rong's eyes were a bit red. He was powerless. One day, you will also taste the feeling of powerlessness. Gong Rong covered the white cloth and turned to leave. The news of Gong Fu's death was released. After all, she was the head of the SR group. Such a sudden death would definitely attract attention. First, Gong Rong was kidnapped and killed. Gong Fu was appointed as the head of the SR group. Then Gong Fu fell ill. The former head of the SR group, Gong Rong, suddenly came back from the dead. Now Gong Fu was dead. The onlookers had already imagined all kinds of swords and knives, killing without spilling blood. They just didn't know if Gong Fu would come back from the dead like his sister. She came back to kill her own sister. However, to the disappointment of the onlookers, Gong Fu was really dead. Even her corpse was cremated. He was deader than dead. Gong Rong was almost in a trance as she finished her sister's funeral. His brows were ashen, and he still had to deal with the wolves, tigers, and leopards that harbored malicious intentions. Gong Rong was holding on. Even before she died, she had to find a suitable heir for SR Group. She couldn't let these people take advantage of her. Not long after Gong Fu died, Gong Rong's body couldn't take it anymore. She collapsed and was sent to the hospital to recuperate. Gong Rong's body was already at the end of its life, and this torment would accelerate the process of her death. Ning Shu saw on the news that Gong Fu was dead. Once Gong Fu died, Gong Rong would be half dead. Now that he had dealt with one of them, it was time to deal with Gong Rong. With Gong Rong's current condition, she wouldn't be able to last much longer. Ning Shu stretched and began to look for a good hospital for Mother Su to receive treatment. Mother Su felt that she didn't need to go to the hospital to waste money anymore. However, Ning Shu was firm. Mother Su's illness couldn't be cured with 2 injections. Surgery wasn't a problem. The most important thing was that she should report to the hospital as soon as possible. They would be informed when there was a suitable one. Mother Su shook her head. "Keep the money. I've lived to this age. I don't want to spend this money. It's not worth it. With this money, you can live an easier life in the future. You don't have to waste it on me." Ning Shu was speechless. "It's our game to be able to buy a life with money. There's plenty of money. We can earn it later. Don't you want to see me get married and have children?" Yes. Money was a problem for heroes, but now that they had money, why not go to the hospital? How stupid. Then I'll listen to you. Ning Shu paid for the hospital that specialized in kidney transplants for Mother Su. If she didn't stay in the hospital, she would come regularly for dialysis. When she did, she would inform Ning Shu and Mother Su. After that, Ning Shu began to think about her career plan. What should she do without a diploma? Mother Su thought that Ning Shu was good at makeup and asked her to learn how to do it. Ning Shu slapped her thigh. Not bad. Girls were born to be beautiful. They could make themselves beautiful and others beautiful. Moreover, in the age of the internet, a makeup video could make money. If she was doing well, she could do makeup for celebrities. If she wasn't doing well, she could do makeup for corpses to make a living. Makeup was a technical job. It had to be three-dimensional, shaded, and matched with the style of the clothes. These things had to be learned systematically. Ning Shu suddenly thought of a sentence. Lanxiang beauty and hair will make your life brilliant. It became leap soil in an instant. Mother Su saw that Ning Shu agreed and helped to find a school. She even asked Ning Shu if she wanted to study abroad. It was good to have a goal. She could take it slow. Ning Shu turned on the TV regularly every day to watch the news. She wanted to know about Gong Rong's death. There was no news, so Ning Shu looked for it online. On the internet, Ning Shu found a short video. It was said to be very popular. It was everywhere on Weibo. Ning Shu clicked on it. It was Gong Rong in a hospital gown. Gong Rong with short hair was extremely handsome. Because he was sick, he had a weak temperament. He was too attractive. Gong Rong sat on the snow-white bed. The sun shone through the window and shone on his body. He looked ethereal and hazy. Unlike the wailing and groaning in the hospital room, Gong Rong looked like he was filming a beautiful art film. "Someone, I want to see you," Gong Rong said to the camera. Countless young girls' hearts exploded as they wailed. "I am a certain someone, and I also want to see you." Ning Shu heard this and knew that Gong Rong was looking for him. He was sick. Why was he looking for her? Ning Shu's heart was filled with vigilance. He felt that his recent life had been very peaceful. He didn't have to be on tenterhooks or hide. What did Gong Rong want to do? "Well, if you want to see me, I won't go. I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life." Why? Gong Rong was obviously bored in the hospital. He took a short video every day. "Today is the second day. Someone, I want to see you." "Today is the third day. Someone, I want to see you." "Today is the fourth day. Someone, I want to see you." Wherever Gong Rong's handsome face looked, hearts would fall. Under his Weibo, there was a group of people who were unable to extricate themselves from his beauty. There were both men and women. Ning Shu watched all of Gong Rong's short videos. She focused on Gong Rong's face because his complexion was getting worse. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.